Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, Pa Pacelli. Did I
Hello.
did I go too soon? Is this where no one can hear? It's Geeky Geezers.
I don't know.
Boomer, and Pacelli here to help you out. And I
We
don't
got to
know.
work on an intro for you, like my videos.
I need to do an intro. You're correct. I need to do. I'm sure I could put some clips together from your ranting. You know what I should do? I should try and find clips of rants. Just do them in quick succession.
Heck, you just do that as a short. It'll probably be your most watched video.
Actually, yeah, I have to. You know what? I have to go find the In Search of parody you did too. I need to do a short of that. That was a while
I'd
ago.
actually forgotten about that.
I'll find it, but that was In Search of. We miss the '70s here, don't we?
Yeah. There were some things about the 70s that were really worth it.
There was great in the '70s. There was great in the '80s. There was great in the '90s. There was even good stuff in the aughts. Then there's the 2010s. I guess you had the Marvel Cinematic Universe was in its peak. Then.
Yeah,
So there was that.
before they screwed it up. Yeah.
And now we're in the 2020s, and I'm struggling. Actually, though, we have some good stuff to talk about tonight, so it's not all bad. In fact, I'll even say in the gaming space, there's still good games to be played, and even now, even in these days. Let's Big Al was first. Greetings, geese. Have a great show. Hello, chat. Prepare to be geezer-fied. I don't know what that means. Did I tell you we have our new oven though that we got after the storm? It has an air fryer in it.
Oh yeah, how does it work? You like that?
We actually tried it. Have you ever used one before?
I've not. I got the impression they're usually these air fryers are these little units, and they always struck me as being like little mobile broilers.
Kind of. Yeah, actually, that's a good way of putting it, like broiling. Now the ovens come with them built into the oven. And because we had to get a new oven after the flood happened, and you have to get a special basket. You have to put paper underneath the tray and then put the stuff in the basket. And we tested it out for the first time last week, and we made some frozen shrimp in it. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's different than like a regular fryer, but it has kind of a crispiness to it. Not quite as crispy as you'd get in a regular fryer, but it's.
You have to like spray it with oil or something like that.
No, it's the air does it all for you. That's the whole point.
No. I probably would not like that because that's effectively broiling, which is fine, but you don't have that flavor of the oil. That's part of, and I'm okay with the idea of spraying.
It's better than baking the fish in an oven. That's how I look at it.
It's the same thing. You're literally doing the same thing. You're just doing it faster.
I'll give you updates on this in the future when we do some fillets or maybe some chicken tendies or whatever. We'll try. We haven't tried French fries yet. We'll have to try that next, or onion rings, maybe frozen onion rings. But apparently, you could put pizza rolls in the air fryer. I need to test that out at some point.
But then again, all these things that you've mentioned that you're doing in an air fryer, I've tried in a broiler, and I've liked them fine. But usually what I do is I'll spray them with oil, and I'm like. Yeah, it's pretty much like you fried them. It's just a lot less oil.
I like hot dogs that are broiled. That's a good way to make a hot dog.
Yeah.
Okay. Matanui, hello. Netters Network. I get a hi, sweetie. Thank you.
There you go.
Connie Cleary, welcome. I don't know if any of you caught the simulcast on this channel. By the way, do only you have the means to simulcast, or can I have you simulcast this thing?
Only me, because I actually
subscribe. You paid for the extra. Okay, so maybe I'll look into that one of these days, so you can share Geeky Geezers.
Yeah, I as I was approaching the 1,000 mark, I was like, okay, I at this point I can justify. I kind of.
If y'all start subscribing more, I did get a few more subscribers this month. Nothing insane, but more than usual, so that was good.
Good. See, I really believe that. I think that. The community really does build each other up. Look, we saw it happen with deleted scenes, and he got a lot of help from Jedi Bill, and then he started giving us suggestions, and same thing. He was like, yeah, you can simulcast with us and stuff like that. And I do think it helps a little bit to draw people to your channel. I know we go out of our way to say, here, subscribe to Big Al. Here, subscribe to Netter as well. All of our links are down below and putting them in the chat.
Yeah.
But I think if we're also sharing the stream and
It
you're
helps.
on someone else's channel, then you can, oh, okay, yes, I will subscribe while I'm here and stuff.
Speaking of which, Sin's Corner, welcome.
Yes,
Madam Web Tumbles is putting it mildly. Well, I couldn't think of what to put next to Madam Web. I'm like, let's try Tumbles. I don't know why I thought of Tumbles, but and welcome Zootopia to the chat. The Taurus is a good show on Netflix. Well, thank you. I'll keep an eye on it. Did I start watching anything recently? I watched a Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes movie over the weekend.
I am so Netter and I are so spoiled by this modern age of being able to binge watch everything. That show I've been talking about so much, Marry My Husband, the South Korean. I thought it was a South Korean sci-fi. It's more of a South Korean soap opera.
Right.
Really good, but we'll get to the end of an episode. No, we gotta wait a whole nother week.
This happened with Reacher. We were late in catching the latest season, and then we finally watched it. But then, we get to like episode 6, and then there are no more episodes. We have to wait, go back to weekly.
I do have Reacher in my list for to watch.
I think you'll enjoy it if you watch it. It's the actor is, you know, who plays Reacher on it? Who? I didn't realize that. Remember the actor who played Aquaman on Smallville? Plays Reacher. Yeah, he's older now. It's him. He's bulkier than he was on Smallville. He's really bulked up, but he was it's the same actor that played Aquaman on Smallville. That's what I was told.
Wow, I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay. Well, I do have it in my list in what is the streaming service? Amazon Plus or something like that.
Yes.
I have it in my, to watch list. So and there's a whole season of it out there already, right? So we could
2 seasons of Reacher. Okay. And Jack Ryan is completely done. If you want to catch that sometime with John Krasinski, it's also very good too.
Because I heard some mixed things about it.
Oh, people didn't like it?
No, I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, so
I thought it was all right. I mean, granted, maybe my standards have lowered because if it's not completely woke, it's a win.
I think for a lot of us, our standards have, we're getting to the point where, this was pretty crap, but it's not as bad crap as what we've been getting. So
I like the cast, though. I like John Krasinski in that role, and who knows? Maybe if they do Jack Ryan movies, they can have Krasinski as Jack Ryan.
I would love that.
Too.
He's been kind of screwed over for movies. We'll be talking about that in the near future, I think.
Madam Web sags to a new low. Dude.
Sags. Yeah. Yeah, well, if you look at what Madam Web's supposed to look like in the comics, and this is what I said. I'm like, I'm getting kind of sick and tired of taking all these people that should be like old and decrepit and then turning them into young and hot. I'm looking at you, Aunt May. Yes, Marissa Tomei is absolutely beautiful, but she's not Aunt May, for crying out loud.
Yeah, Madam. Oh, okay. I get he was talking about the original Madam Web.
Now, my understanding of
Dakota Johnson's filling out that dress pretty nicely, I thought.
I'm sure she is, and I'm sure that underneath that dress, she's got a CG merkin.
I was watching the Midnight Edge video. Apparently, she fired her agent after the movie was done.
Yes, she did.
Good.
Yes, she did. And I've been mentioning that every time I see some stupid mainstream media outlet trying to do cover. She didn't really, throw the show under the bus and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, really? So you're saying that firing her agent was just a coincidence?
Dakota Johnson needs to be in thrillers. Probably erotic thrillers, if I'm being honest with you. Like those Norwegian movies we were talking about.
I'll tell you
what.
Their
American versions of those. I think she should be in those.
I'll tell you what.
Yes.
I realize, and this is just, it's unfair to her, but it's the way it works. You mentally associate her with a series she's already done. It's how typecasting starts, right? So I look at Madam Web and all I see is her role in 50 Shades of Grey. That, you know what? You made the choice to be in that and all the associations that go with it. Fair or unfair, you can bitch about the patriarchy all you want, but that's the reality.
Has she bitched about the patriarchy?
No, I'm just
Okay,
saying
good.
that
Okay.
a lot of
Maybe other people
actresses
have.
try to do that. But I am going to give her, just as I, said that, on the opposite side of that coin, I will give her absolute props for, you took this role probably because your agent said it would be good for you. You got involved with it after signing the contract and realized it was shit. And you did the best you could in the publicity. You didn't literally throw it under the bus, but you had the dead eyes, right? And then you fired your agent. That's exactly what I keep saying these actors have to do. You got to choose your roles. And if your agent is choosing crap roles for you, it's your fault for hiring that agent or continuing to work with that agent.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you're just going to take anything, well, then don't be surprised when you're seen as the showgirl's girl or something.
Yeah. Well, oh dang, didn't even know she was the girl in 50 Shades of Grey. Yes, yes, she
Yeah.
was. That's how her career basically kicked off. Uh
Nah,
if she has a career, to be honest with you.
I understand people thinking that because that's the first place they know her from, but it's nepotism. She's the daughter of Don Johnson and what's
Oh,
her name?
and Melanie Griffith. Yes,
Melanie Griffith.
but let's be honest here. This is a role. I will give her props, or maybe not props, but that was a role a lot of people didn't want to take.
That's
And she
another
took
good
that
point.
role.
If a
Yes.
lot of people don't want to take the role, you better have a really good reason for taking
Her
it.
reason was she was a beginning actor and needed
Yeah,
something that
that's
was,
a
and the
bad
movies
reason
were
because you're
hits.
setting the tone for your career.
See, I think I'm being more generous to Dakota Johnson than you are, but like I said, I think she could have a career if we were to go back to these R-rated thriller type things like Basic Instinct and movies like that. I think
True.
she could be in these types of movies, and that could be her career. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, frankly.
Well, when you consider who the director was on this, uh, yeah, consider those are the kinds of movies you're talking about, though. And maybe that's what she was thinking. Maybe she thought this was going to be like that.
Yeah.
But
I had no idea she was Don Johnson's kid. Yes, she is.
Don Johnson, you could see when I tell you it's Melanie Griffith, and you look at her face, and look at a young Melanie Griffith, you're like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
She was in Melanie Griffith. She was in Body Double, correct? The De Palma movie, I believe.
Was she?
I think
yes, I think she was.
Yeah,
yes,
I think she played a porn star in that movie. Oh, I said a word I'm not supposed to say within 15, but oh well. Alan Ritchson also.
It doesn't matter. You're not monetized. They can't demonetize the stream, right?
True. Anyway, here is our lovely thumbnail of the evening. Look at this, okay? Now I'm seeing what you're saying about what's between the two.
Yeah, I put it there for a reason. I just thought it would be funny.
We have some game-related stuff tonight too, which is interesting. But it's interesting game-related stuff. I'm gonna say this. What I knew about Gamergate was not personally involved, though maybe I knew people who were. But I think because that was the first pushback to the SJW stuff, that at least gaming is not a complete shit show. Yes, there is still plenty of woke stuff. We talked about the Suicide Squad game the other week. That was a disaster, but not everything. Like the AAA stuff is suspect now, but you can still find great indie games. You can still find great games made in other countries. Like the one we're talking about tonight is actually made in Korea. Because now Korea is getting into game development now, but okay. But I guess it's time to talk about. I don't even know who Don Johnson is. For shame. What?
Unfortunately, I would say, have you never heard of Miami Vice? But they're not going to think of the TV show. They're going to think of the crappy movie.
I think Don Johnson, was also on the. I only watched a couple episodes of it. They did a series based on From Dusk Till Dawn. And he was the think the lead cop on that.
Know about that.
But
didn't he do some sort of a cowboy thing too, Don Johnson? Wasn't he in one of these Yellowstone related type shows?
If he wasn't, I'm sure he will be, because he seems like the type of actor you would cast in a Yellowstone spinoff.
Yeah.
Like maybe the 1800s one or something like that. Never watched either. Tango and Nash.
Oh, yeah, Tango and Nash.
Kurt Russell. Wait. Tango and Nash. Nash Bridges.
Nash Bridges,
Remember
yeah.
Nash Bridges?
Nash Bridges. There you
Annette
go.
O'Toole was on
And
Nash
maybe that's
Bridges.
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Annette O'Toole was on Nash Bridges, remember? Or was she on? I think she was on that Nash
I
Bridges,
didn't
wasn't she?
watch it regularly, so I don't have clear memories of
No,
it.
I didn't watch Nash Bridges on Friday. I would, on that time slot, I would watch Homicide, Life on the Street, which always lost to Nash Bridges in the ratings.
Right. You were watching the wrong show, see?
No, Homicide's a classic series, though. Don't watch the made for TV movie that wraps up the show. It's bullshit, but the rest of the show is decent.
Yeah.
That was where they leave well enough alone. It had an ending that worked. I used to watch that, and I used to watch Millennium on Friday nights, or before Millennium was the X-Files. Anyway, time to move on. Geeky Geezers. Let's move to the first story. We're going to talk about the good old days.
What are we going to talk about in the good old days?
Something to do with a grasshopper, maybe. Kung Fu.
Oh, yes. So, brilliant series. This established that I'm sure there's probably a name for it, but the trope of the lonely man traveler, right? I mean,
Yes.
most the people in our community probably know it based on the whole Bill Bixby, Incredible Hulk thing. But the idea of that kind of a character goes way back, whether it was The Fugitive or it was a big thing with Westerns, right? You had I guess it was more in the movies than it was on TV, but you had the Clint Eastwood movies, Man with No Name type stuff.
Yeah, and maybe it was in that spirit of the time. Yeah,
and this was very much in the Western style, right? Because it was set in, that era, but with somebody who had studied Kung Fu at the Shaolin Temple.
Yeah. For those of you, I would think maybe the young kids know what Shaolin temples are by this point because of the popularity of games like Mortal Kombat. But big deal. They are, I believe, Buddhist in nature, correct?
Yes.
And they would exist in China, but the monks would, in addition to doing things like Western monks would do, they would also learn martial arts, right? Learn fighting at this place, right? I guess.
Correct.
And there's a wonderful Shaw Brothers movie called 36 Chamber Shaolin. I recommend it to all of you. It's all about this guy that wants to learn Kung Fu so he can fight against the evil men that the emperor sent to mess with his village or whatever, right? And he goes to the temple, and he goes up to he says, I want to learn everything. And he says, well, I want to learn the most effective move. Okay, well then go down to the 36th chamber. And he goes down to the 36th chamber. And I think the Shaolin monk just looks at him and he goes flying across the room or something, it's not even like, and he's like, this is nuts. And then he has to go start at the beginning and go through all 36 chambers. It's all about him going through all the training to get up to that point.
There you go.
And it's a fascinating movie if you're into martial arts. But this, I think, was in that
which vein. Wouldn't fly today, because these days it would have to be a woman, and she would have to be, born superpowered to begin with, and they'd send her to the 36th chamber, and all she'd have to learn is, I just gotta believe in my femininity, and she would beat the master.
Of course. Well, to be fair, they may have gone there with the CW remake. I don't know. I didn't even bother watching the CW version of the series. But yeah, this is the original.
Oh, yeah. See, I kind of referenced that in the thumbnail. Never saw a single episode of it myself. I will not watch gender and race swapped remakes of anything. I just won't.
Well, part of me even wonders, is she even a Shaolin monk, which I don't even know if even today Shaolin monks accept women. No. The interesting though, Shaolin monks were different though, is that they could actually take a wife. That was allowed, which I learned on this series. But there's Master Po, his blind master, who would always give him sage advice. And of course, we know how the series begins. You remember? I don't know if you ever saw the pilot episode of this series.
If I did, it's lost in my foggy memory.
Now this is Kwai Chang Caine, played by David Carradine, and he was he was half Chinese and I guess half Caucasian American, right? Because his father was from America, and but he stayed in China, I guess, with his mom, his Chinese mother, and I guess he learned I'm not knowing the full. I should rewatch the pilot at some point. It's been a while, but I know that he learned kung fu in the Shaolin Temple. There's the famous scene of him with the final step having to put both of his arms on this very hot basin that had like hot coals in it, and like it makes
Oh,
the
right.
imprint of the dragons on his forearms, and then he has to
Exactly.
lift it outside into the snow, and then after he does that, he has to walk with it for a bit, and then he can set it down, and then I guess he can cover his arms with snow, and then of course the burn marks of the dragons are on his forearms now. That's like the final step in of him becoming a Shaolin monk.
Right.
And I remember there's a scene, I think, where him and the master are on a pilgrimage, I think, somewhere in China. And I think their carriage breaks down. They're trying to get it fixed. And the emperor's nephew is on the road and is very angry that the road is blocked. And just for, I guess, shits and giggles, takes out a flintlock pistol and shoots his master dead. Shoots him. And he's
Wow.
reloading the gun. And then Quiet Shane Kane picks up a spear and throws it at him and kills the emperor's nephew.
Yeah.
And normally, of course, the Shaolin, you can't murder, no good. But I think even the master forgave him. He understood in this instance why he did it, because they're not supposed to kill. But after that, of course, you kill the emperor's nephew. I don't care what the emperor is doing. You got a price on your head.
Yep.
Every assassin the emperor of China can summon, they're going to come after you, try to kill you. So he flees to the United States. And he knows he has family out there from his father's side of the family. So he goes out there, and it's all about him wandering, looking for his half-brother, right? I think he has a half-brother from his dad on the other side of the world. So
exactly.
And then it's him wandering. And David Carradine said that when they were talking about, he based this character off of Spock, very logical. But you also get a lot of, I guess, Eastern philosophy on this show. They'd often flash back to him having segments with Master Poe here, where he would refer to him as a suit.
Right, because
he had a play named Grasshopper. Yes.
Whereas his master's death is the impetus, for his wandering. Right.
Yeah.
You still get to see the master throughout the series because you get the whole flashback thing of his various trainings. In a lot of ways, it's told in a very similar way. Very similar formula to what you see in the Highlander series, where he's got all these memories that are relevant, and you get to see the snippet of memory that happens to be relevant to the current situation or whatever it is.
Exactly. They would do that on Andromeda sometimes. Remember Andromeda?
Oh yeah,
with where he would do flashbacks to his Nietzschean friend. Remember, he had a Nietzschean friend that betrayed the Confederacy, and that was a thing. But Continuum Chronicles. Yeah, I remember this story you talked about on Troy Stream.
Yeah,
that's a great story. You should seek that out. If I think of it later, I'll try to post a clip in the description of this.
The other thing you got to remember
this is
about
the funniest story.
yeah. The other thing to remember about David Carradine is he didn't know kung fu. No. He knew television kung fu. He knew what he needed to know as choreographed for that show, but he was an actor. And I have a couple of, they're actually videotapes, but I've transferred them to DVD, exercise videos. One is Tai Chi and the other is Kung Fu. And I'm going to say he narrates it, and he does demonstrate some of it, but as things require a little bit more expertise, someone else takes over, who's clearly the one who's really telling him what to do and how to do it and so forth.
The real kung fu expert. Now, of course, there was always a thing going on in this series. Reportedly, Bruce Lee came up with the concept for this television show, and then Warner Brothers stole it from him. Remember?
And I'll be honest with you, that really does sound plausible.
Yeah, I believe it.
I will say something else about this, though, and this is maybe a little bit of a hot take on a show from the 70s, right? Mm-hmm. If Bruce Lee had been involved in it, it would have been a very different show. And I'm gonna kind of question if it would have been as palatable to Western audiences. The reason I say that is because he was a Chinese national. You know, he was true to his heritage, and I have nothing against him for that. But the Chinese did not, and to this day, definitely do not have a favorable opinion of the Shaolin temples and the monks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce Lee's heritage is complicated because he actually was born in the United States, but of course he was raised in China for most of his life. If I'm going by the movie, try and get the Bruce Lee story. Maybe the inaccuracies there.
Samuel Proctor
Yes.
asked, "Do you reenact the kung fu in your living room?" Yeah. I mean, probably not the way you mean it, but yeah, I would practice the katas and the tai chi and whatnot. And let me tell you something: if you've ever seen tai chi, right, and you've watched, it looks like a dance. It's beautiful, very elegant, very smooth, very slow. If you haven't practiced it for a long period of time, you will feel it. Your
Really?
legs and your arms will hurt the next day.
Yikes.
Uh, just, I mean, I'm sure there's YouTube videos. Look up how to do the horse stance. It's the basic stance for Kung Fu. It's the basic stance for Tai Chi. And then hold that stance for, say, 5 minutes. You need to hold it a lot longer than 5 minutes if you're going to do the katas and Tai Chi. But by the end of 5 minutes, you will be sore.
Yes. And of course, that's a scene from the series when he's wandering around in the Wild West, right?
Yeah.
So it's also a Western, right? Because he's in the Old West.
The other thing,
Yes.
do you know, or does anyone in the chat know what David Carradine's heritage is? Because he played someone who was half Asian, right?
Yeah.
You could totally believe it. There's something
Yes.
about his eyes that he looked like he could have been part Asian.
When I was reading up on casting for the series, I think the original intent was that they did want an Asian actor in the lead, but they couldn't find one that fit. So then they lead into his, white heritage instead. That's when they went David Carradine. That's what they said behind the scenes. Because I think George Takei had been considered too for the role, which I thought was interesting, even though he's Japanese. But
yeah,
well, you know.
Well, and see, yeah, therein lies the whole. What's the difference, right? No, yeah, that's
It's
racist.
like comparing Germans to English. Of course, sometimes they're the same thing, right? But no,
well, especially if you're talking about the monarchies. Yeah,
yes,
that's true.
yes.
I was just watching something about World War I and a reticence to fight the British because of the family relationship, and then it was like, no, we need to go to war. Horizon Talker makes a great point. He says, can confirm Tai Chi is designed to work your muscles, not look pretty. Yeah, and the fact that it does look pretty is just because form follows function. So, you know.
Primarily of Irish descent, he was a great grandson of Methodist evangelical author Beverly Carradine and grandnephew of the artist Will Foster. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, did not know that. But yeah, sounds like not really any Asian in him.
But I think he passes for half Asian. But again, you could probably pass.
It's just a quirk
about his face. I don't know.
And it's not like they were purposely going for, some sort of a racist, I don't know what
they
you
didn't
call
put like make his eyes squint, like put makeup
exactly.
over his eyes or anything like that. Yeah.
It wasn't like what's his name in that movie? Oh shoot!
They might have done that with other actors on the series.
They've done it with other movies. But I don't have to actually enumerate them.
But what I always found fascinating though about the series, I mean, I would watch in repeats because I was a big fan of the follow-up Kung Fu: The Legend Continues when that came on, and they were starting to air this on TNT, so I was starting to watch the old show because this was about the character's grandfather, obviously grandson on Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, or great grandson. What was interesting was on this series how every so often on an episode, an assassin from China would show up to kill him. And I thought that was interesting because typically it was him dealing with, like Western tropes, like helping out those in need. Like, it was actually interesting. One episode he was dealing with someone from an American Indian tribe, which I thought was interesting. Is in some ways here are two outsiders that probably have more in common than I guess the regular cowboys and what in the area.
Sure.
And but I did remember there were those episodes where the assassins would show up, and if he managed to defeat an assassin or kill the assassin trying to kill him, more were still going to come, and they weren't
Exactly.
going to stop until he was dead because you killed a member of the royal family.
Exactly.
And you know, I mean, that's a fascinating premise. I don't know if they're going. We'll talk about the remake in a little bit. I don't know if they're going to do that in the remake, but that would be fascinating if they carry that on in the remake. But you're referring to breakfast activities. I'm referring to this actual show. Apparently, there were some actresses. Maybe they couldn't get an Asian
Oh, I didn't
so they
realize.
put. I mean, it was more common back then. I don't think the intention was to be racist, but I
Look,
obviously
I've
people
made
can
this
see it as
point many,
problematic
many
now.
times.
Yeah.
Um, you have a pool of actors you can work from.
Yes.
And back then, there were less Asian actors. There
Yeah.
were less, actors of many different ethnicities.
Right.
There are many more now, which makes
Yes.
it much, much easier. Uh, I, I, I balk at this idea that you have to be this, that, or the other to play certain roles. But at the same time, I acknowledge, yes, sometimes you do, you know?
Yes. Like Steve Buscemi on Boardwalk Empire, he played a good Irishman. Even though he's Italian ancestry,
Yes.
but he's
And
still
that's the
he
amazing
pulled it
thing,
off.
right?
Yes,
Because honestly, he doesn't look that Italian, even
exactly.
knowing he's Italian,
Yeah,
And how many times have I talked about, Jewish people playing Italians, Italians playing Jewish
playing Jewish
people,
people. Yeah,
it's
like
just,
De Niro in Casino. Remember that?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, even De
uh,
Niro played in I almost called it Wise Guys because that was the book.
mhm,
Goodfellas. He plays half Irish, and I
mhm.
don't think De Niro's half Irish,
No.
but
Ah,
you know
that'll be something to talk about someday. The good old days of American gangsters, but no, or maybe the
that
not good
could
old days
that
of
could be
American
fun. That could
gangsters.
be fun.
People
Well, let's
dying
wait
in the
until
streets in the
you know what we
1920s.
just
Just
passed Valentine's Day. Let's wait till next Valentine's Day, and we'll do a Valentine's Day massacre special.
oh my goodness. That'd be a good Friday night stream too if it falls on a
Could be.
Friday because you could talk about Al Capone. It's funny. I remember when I was in middle school, I had to do a term paper on a famous American, and I'm like,
Uh,
okay, well, who can I do? And I'm like, I'll do Al Capone. He was American, Italian American. And oh man, I'm reading up on Al Capone in like seventh grade, and I'm like, he did what? He
oh yeah.
bashed guys' heads in with a baseball bat while other people's were eating, like, I guess, a shrimp pasta linguine, and people's heads are getting bashed in and brains are gashing out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is, I'm reading this in the seventh grade.
I'll tell you
Grade.
what. What's amazing. I mean, he's a very interesting character because let's face it, he was a murderer. He was
Yeah.
a horrible criminal, but
Yes.
the people in the neighborhoods around him loved him
Yes.
because he was a folk hero to them.
Yes.
And he existed at a time when that was possible. They were the Italians in Chicago were so oppressed
Yeah.
that nobody was looking out for them, and someone comes along and he was known for, being very philanthropic in his community.
Yeah.
So they would say, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about his business. All I know is that personally he's been good to us,
We have certain foreign leaders living today that won't name nameless who, at the very least, do not hate their own people. So that's why they're supported. Whereas maybe in this country, I'm starting to wonder if any of our elites like us. Maybe a few do,
Yeah,
but I'm
exactly.
starting to wonder if a lot of elites see the majority of us as peasants, and I'm getting tired of it.
You're absolutely right.
But Kung Fu remake, I guess we can go with that story first. Why don't we do that?
That kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Because
let's do
it's
that.
good
Kung Fu
leading.
remake first, and we'll skip by the lovely Dakota Johnson. Hold on, let's get up to that. Kung Fu. Oh my goodness, how far along is that?
I had it listed first.
Holy cow! Did I forget that in the notes? I did. Okay, hold on. Boomer
I
moment.
literally had it listed first, man.
Well, I unfortunately I don't have a picture of Donnie Yen. Let me go ahead and bring up my notes. Hopefully, I did I think I did the notes. I
Go
just
back
didn't put
to
it
the
in my
thumbnail.
keynote.
It's there. I mean,
Hold on, give me a second. You think this is a professional stream?
I
A lot of
had these ready for you before I went to bed on Saturday night. So
a
you
lot
had
of
all
heroes
day.
killed. William Wallace of Braveheart fame killed kids because he didn't want them to grow up to be soldiers. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of, what was that in The Godfather? Was it Godfather Part 2 where they Vito Corleone, like the one guy says, hey, he'll grow up to be a man and he'll come back and kill me. Wasn't that a thing in that?
Yeah.
And of course, what happens?
This goes back to time immemorial, where if you went to war, that's why they didn't let the kids live, because or unless you were adopting them into your society, you know?
Yes, exactly. Which could happen. Oh, that was a subplot of Game of Thrones. They adopted the son of a guy that invaded. As part of the punishment, they took his son, but they did raise him like one of their own, the Starks, of course. It didn't work out so well for them.
It was very common. I mean, same thing with if you read the story of Vlad Tepes, you know, he and his brother were absconded by the Ottomans, and he this is why Dracula became the Impaler, because he was like, yeah, they did very, very bad things to those boys, you know, Epstein type bad things.
Oh.
And when he escaped, he was like, yeah, okay.
Payback's a bitch.
It really was. And you know who else he went after was the royalty that sold him into that slavery, you know, and didn't back his father when they should have.
This is why in some countries he's the monster who they eventually became the rumored Dracula.
And in Romania, he's to this day considered a hero.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Hollywood keeps, you know, having this real problem with being able to decide what's a hero and what's a villain. Do a really good story about Dracula, because the lines really do blur.
I'm still upset because they were so close.
They were so close with
Dracula Untold. They I would say like 75% of that movie was spot on, and then it was just the other. I don't want to think about it.
Honestly, it could have been a couple different movies. They could have made a trilogy.
They could have done a trilogy and done the second trilogy with him being the vampire lord and how awful he was the vampire lord, and then maybe have his son. I was even thinking, as his son was spared and his son got to live, maybe his son would have to go after his father one day to save the country. That would have been an interesting plot.
Well, that would have been an interesting take on it too.
But okay, Kung Fu remake. Sorry, I don't have a picture of Donnie Yen to put up here because I don't know why I forgot, but at least I have the notes. The classic 1970s TV series Kung Fu is getting another modern remake, but this time it will be a movie from the producer of John Wick. Okay, so that holds some promise. The classic 1970s TV series Kung Fu is receiving another modern reimagining, but this time as a blockbuster movie from the producer of the John Wick films. Debuting in 1972, Kung Fu originally starred David Carradine as Kwai Chang Caine, a Shaolin master who travels the American Old West in search for his missing half-brother. Despite being a big hit in the 1970s, the action series hasn't held up to modern scrutiny and was ripe for remaking to fix its problematic elements. Well, that's your opinion. Let's move on. I'm sorry. I'm getting tired of this, and I'm a huge fan of the follow-up series too. But anyway, let's move on. The first attempt at a full remake came with the release of the 2021 TV series on the CW, which recast the lead as a young Chinese-American woman in the modern day, which means it sounds like it had nothing to do with the plot line of the original series. They could have even made it been about like maybe his granddaughter or something, like maybe his great granddaughter or something.
Would have made perfect sense.
They didn't do that. They just I don't. To be fair, I never watched the show, so I can't comment on if it was good or not. But it was CW, and I was already burned by The Flash, so I didn't bother giving this a chance. Anyway, let's move on. Like its predecessor, the remake ran for 3 seasons before being cut by its network as part of a major shakeup within its original programmings. Now, a totally unrelated cinematic remake has been announced, which aims to fix the original's issues while amping up the action that made Kung Fu so popular in the first place. Though rumblings of a remake have been going on since 2020, it has now been confirmed that the new remake of Kung Fu is on the way, with several notable additions. The remake is being produced by 87th North and Universal Pictures, that dynamic duo that brought us the John Wick franchise to life. In tremendous box office success, the movie will be directed by David Leitch and has already cast Donnie Yen in the lead role. Nothing is yet known about the movie's production timeline. Now, I do want to make a point. All this ham-fisted stuff about the problematics of the original series. I don't think that's the producers of this movie saying this. I think it's the guy writing the article. All right, so
Absolutely.
let's differentiate. There's no reason this movie has to be bad.
Well,
I
I'm
do
going to
like
tell
Donnie
you,
Yen.
I was
He's a
going to
good
say
actor.
Donnie
Yes,
Yen, he's
yes.
got, there is no better casting for this role.
I don't think so.
Starting
Yeah,
with in
yeah.
the 90s, he did a whole bunch of Kung Fu related, not the franchise Kung Fu, but Kung
Right.
Fu
Martial arts
movies.
movies. I have a few of them on DVD, especially one
Yeah.
in Hong Kong. He was a
Um,
big Hong Kong movie actor. Yeah, yeah.
the
And his
first thing
English is excellent. His English is
yeah.
excellent
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
First thing I remember him from was he played Jin Kei in Highlander Endgame.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, he did, and he was in Blade 2. He was in. You remember Shanghai Nights?
I remember Shanghai
He was in
Nights.
Shanghai Nights,
I love
but I
Shanghai
think
Nights.
most people here would remember him from 2016 Rogue One.
He was in Rogue One.
He played Imwe. Yeah, the
I
blind what do you call it, temple guard.
I remember when he was announced being Rogue One, it was like, oh, this is going to be kick butt because he's going to be a Jedi. He's probably going to be one of the Jedi that still haven't been caught yet, and he's gonna use kung fu instead of lightsabers as his Jedi power. He's not even going to need a lightsaber.
And that
Because I always got
kind of was the
yeah,
case, you
yeah,
know? That
exactly.
kind
I
of was
remember
the
that.
case. And I
We needed
loved,
more of him in that, though, doing his stuff. I thought, but yeah,
yeah.
we needed more Forrest Whitaker in that movie
I
too. They
really,
have him in there, and then he just never mind.
I'll be honest with you. I
Mhm.
love Forrest Whitaker. Did not like that character. And then
Yeah.
we did see his whole origin story in the animated shows. Did not like him. He was basically Star Wars Che Guevara is what he basically was. So yeah. There was no doubt what they were trying to do with that character. But most of the other characters,
Talk about a hero to some and a villain to others, but
yeah, exactly. But all of those characters. I mean, I think we got. I forget the main character's name. She got a great full arc. We got her whole backstory. Now Andor gets his own series. You get his whole backstory. Donnie Yen is the one who his character really is the one that we needed a series for.
I know. It doesn't matter though. I'd rather see him in this. Okay.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't want to see anybody doing anything with Star Wars if they care about their careers.
Well,
and I think a lot
Gina,
more actors are doing, are avoiding specifically for that. But apparently, we're also going to get to see him in John Wick 4. I haven't seen it yet, but I know he's in it.
And he's a very interesting character in John Wick 4. I don't want to say anything more about it until you get there. It's what actually John Wick 4 shows me though is that there are a lot of other characters in the John Wick universe you could probably make movies out of because they're besides just John Wick, and he's one of them. But I don't want to get into more details. Like the Lawrence Fishburne character, he's another one that I thought was interesting in those John Wick movies. But the one with the pigeons, right? Remember him?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've gotten that far in John Wick. Did you get the part?
I've seen clips of it, so I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen the movie itself.
In the EU, they had force-based martial arts. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Terror Sky, because it makes sense. Because I always thought Star Wars kind of, was nodding to a lot of those kung fu movies in the '70s. How, you can use a lightsaber, but there are other ways. Just like a Shaolin monk can use a weapon, but he doesn't have to use a weapon. Do you understand? Yoda, right. I always thought it kind of odd that Yoda used a lightsaber in the prequels because I always figured Yoda didn't need a lightsaber. I thought that was the whole point.
Well, and what was nice was that you did get to see in that battle that he has with Palpatine.
Yeah,
he kind of didn't, right? When he walks in and those guards just go flying.
Boom. Yes, I like that. Yes.
But when someone else pulls a and let's face it, the Emperor shoots the lightning at him, he grabs it and throws it right back at him, right? So again, didn't need the lightsaber, but when he pulls out that lightsaber, okay, I guess I need to, defend against like with like.
Exactly. I that's probably why he did it. That's right. Son's a big John Wick fan. I like the series. I know some people in the chat may have had different feelings on the final one, but that's okay. You can not like everything. It's all right.
And
we're not going to attack you.
If you've enjoyed a series and they have one stinker, give them some grace. You've enjoyed it this far; they can fix it.
But
haven't they earned your your faith if they've done this well this long? One stinker's allowed.
let's see. It says based on the 1970 television series Kung Fu is an action drama directed by David Leitch. Okay. Original series followed martial arts pupil who fled from China after his master was murdered, making a life out of wandering the Western United States and protecting the oppressed. Yeah, okay. I mean, this could be a great movie. We'll see. What do you think?
I'm willing to give it a try. Sure.
And Donnie Yen's a good actor, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see if they stick with the original premise of the show with the Shaolin monks and whatnot. But see,
And
it's
maybe
funny
a
that the
few-
Shaolin monk stuff showed up in a lot of Hong Kong kung fu movies. But you're right. If the mainland didn't like the Shaolin temples, then they wouldn't have shown up in other things. But
Yeah.
yeah. All right, here we go. The cast of Madam Web.
Been waiting on this one.
They're good-looking cast. I'll give the movie that.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
lovely-looking women here. But yeah,
what was it? Was it the drinker? Made a great point about that. I guess the blonde is like really hot, and if you're hoping to see her in a
no.
a hot skimpy Spider Woman outfit, well, too bad.
Here's your Charlie's Angels cast. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Hey, you're hoping to see that. It's not about the male gaze, you horrible men.
Well, apparently it's also not about good storytelling.
You get more male gaze in this photo from the premiere than you probably do in the movie.
Now, for those that saw it, is my understanding correct that this is like a 70s period piece type thing? So this is like an origin story for the old woman that becomes a that's what I was getting the impression of from
I know nothing because I didn't see. I've had zero to little interest in this movie.
One of the biggest criticisms that comic book fans had, myself included, was when they cast Dakota Johnson as Madam Web. We're all going, Madam Web is this old woman, who she's crippled and blind, and she sees multiple futures. She's kind of like a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother.
You'd expect Helen Mirren to more be cast.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And she oftentimes was, as they often do with Marvel, sometimes a villain, sometimes an ally to Spider-Man, right? So Peter Parker would sometimes get some advice from her, and sometimes she'd lead him astray, and she was part of something else that he was having to deal with or whatever. When they said this, it was like, really? And then they showed who the cast was, and we're like, oh, it's just another, women assemble in Marvel, super team, right?
Yep.
But then I think it was the Drinkers review that I was, watching. I'm like, oh, this takes place in the 70s. Oh, okay, so this could be an origin story for that character. But again, it's like, well, great, you invest in this beautiful young cast, and then what? Next Spider-Man movie you're going to have her in, and she's going to be like an old woman makeup or something? You're going to make her 40 years older or something, or recast?
Maybe she'll take some rejuvenation juice and become young again for reasons.
Yes, but it's her spider metabolism or something, right?
Or I don't know.
Damn, that's a hot dress, though. My God.
Yeah, that's a nice dress. That's why I'm saying I think Dakota. You know what? It's funny. Dakota Johnson's like, I could still have a career. I'll wear this knockout dress. I think she should still have a career. She could be in certain types of movies. Like,
I just bucked the system altogether. They got streaming services for that now.
I'm just saying she should be in like a thrillers, maybe even erotic thrillers. That's my point. Like, Zalman King still around? Probably not. But anyway,
and I'm not sure that there's anyone that could fill that niche, because that is a very fine line to walk.
I know. One of the reviews for Madam Web was, "It's bad. It doesn't get better. Then you go home. That's the whole experience."
Yes, Sashi, thanks and welcome. Glad you're here. Oh,
yeah,
God.
I'll read a little bit about
go ahead,
this.
read
Early reviews for the latest Marvel film has slammed Madam Web as the worst comic book movie yet, as Sony's effort to flesh out its own Marvel universe separate from the ultra-successful Disney franchise continues to flounder. That means it's worse than Morbius, right?
Right.
I told you how I hated Venom and thought Venom was the worst thing ever, and then I saw Morbius. I went into Morbius with an open mind. I thought this is just the critics hating on it because it's not Disney. Oh, and then I saw it, and it was, oh wow. Critics have wasted no time panning the film with commentary ranging from hilariously bad to depressingly internet. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I want to know what that means.
I'm
And
sure it probably is a reference to colloquialisms and
did
whatnot.
AI write the script?
Well, one of the things Drinker mentioned was something about, again, and this is what led me to believe it was taking place in like the 70s, 80s, something like that. But the computer technology was like very modern day and not, of the day it's supposed to be
Oh,
taking
for the
place
love
in.
of Mike.
So it's like, yeah.
How can Lost get the 70s technology right and this big budget movie can't? Like Lost, when they went to the Dharma Initiative, it was the old
Yes,
school computers
that was
with the green
brilliant. Yeah.
screens and the discolored, that disgusting beige color they were, that's the
Yep.
kind of computers the Dharma Initiative because it's been around since the 70s. Okay, critics have wasted no time panning the film with commentary ranging from hilarious. Okay, yeah, okay, sorry. The film so far is a dismal 25% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Madam Web is expected to make 30 million, 35 million after its Wednesday opening to have the lowest ever domestic opening for a Sony Spider-Man movie. It's not a Spider-Man movie. That's the problem with these movies.
Well,
there's no Spider-Man in it.
They have to call it a Spider-Man movie because this is Sony's Spider-Verse. That's the only reason they have a claim to these characters. And we knew it was tenuous when they started doing it, and it's really freaking falling apart. This does not work. It only worked when Spider-Man was on loan from the
MCU.
mainline MCU, and they worked together. That was a good deal for both sides. Both sides now have completely imploded.
I kept thinking, wouldn't it make sense for them, since people were loving Andrew Garfield in the No Way Home movie, wouldn't it make sense to have introduced the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man into this universe you're creating? And you can keep the Tom Holland on the Disney side of things.
Deleted scene says it went up, ? Yeah. And I would guarantee you, because based on the mainstream media panning of this show, that this was Sony pulling some shenanigans, probably paying for some improved credit and reviews, and probably sending some people to the websites to boost their numbers. This movie is losing a metric crap ton of money, despite what they say. Even conservative mainstream outlets are saying it probably cost them at least $100 million. So unless this movie clears $300 million, it's gonna be a big loser.
Yeah. Let's see. Love versus Marvel movies will have little choice but to buy into Sony's Spider-Man universe this year. Outside of Disney's Deadpool 3 this July, Sony's Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter, and Venom 3 are the only Marvel movies at theaters after the 2023 actors and writers strike wreaked havoc on the release schedule. I don't know what this bodes for Kraven the Hunter.
Sashi, put a fine point on what I was vaguely remembering. According to the Critical Drinker, the antagonist uses facial recognition to track them. I lived through the 80s. Just imagine doing that with a dial-up internet. See, that's the key. That's what I was talking about. That kind of technology exists today. If this movie was set in 2023, I'd say, yeah, okay, fine. I can buy that. Not in 1980.
Exactly.
So either make it a period piece or don't. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. They want to have their cake and eat it too. Or this is, think about it though. This is part of the multiverse though. So maybe their universe is designed a little differently.
Yeah, and that's what CK is suggesting here. But again, that's the kind of thing you have to establish. It's got to be established in the narrative, because especially with Marvel, the whole idea that, it's all set in New York, and, it's what's happening right outside my window. The same president in the real world is the president in the Marvel universe. That was always the selling feature of Marvel comics, right? So if the technology was different, you almost found it exclusively with, well, yes, Reed Richards has it in the Baxter building, but that's not available to the general public. Yes, Dr. Doom has it, but only Latveria gets the benefit of that. It's not generally. And forget about Wakanda. They're completely isolationist, right?
Yes.
And, vibranium, well, that's, unobtainium. Only the government has that, or whatever. So I get what you're saying, but yeah, there needed to be an explanation for why that technology existed in 1980s.
Deleted scenes. I'm curious. Did you see this movie?
Yeah, and again, Sasha and I were going by what we heard from the Critical Drinker, because my understanding is the establishing shots at the beginning take place in like the late 70s. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
I think I'm getting the timeline here. The mother dies
okay.
in 1979.
Right. Okay.
Dakota Johnson's character in 2003. Okay. But yes, the technology that's being referred to is older technology, because this is, this is the whole villain's backstory too. So
I have a question too. Character was born in 80. I also want to bring up a point about set in 2003. So she's 23. Okay.
But I'll tell you what, they didn't have that technology in 2003 either. So point still remains. They didn't have that kind of facial recognition, that long ago. I mean, we were lucky that we could have something vaguely resembling a computer being able to generate something like CG in 2003. That was when we were starting to do dinosaurs.
We had the cave troll in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, God, yeah, that was pretty good, but you could tell it wasn't.
You can tell it's CG. At least Peter Jackson had the wisdom to not use CG when he didn't have to.
Exactly. Well, and I was saying the same thing the other night about Jurassic Park. The stuff they used it for, it worked great, but the stuff that people think was CG was actually practical effects.
Yeah. I've not seen it, but if Tony Stark existed in their version of 2003, I could see some weird tech going on in the MCU.
They don't even want to touch that, because this is supposed to be a whole separate universe, right? So, yeah, there's some real... This whole multiverse timey-wimey bull crap is a real problem.
They established the Venomverse as a multiverse at the end of Morbius, because they had the Vulture from the MCU come over to the Venomverse through some weird timey-wimey thing
with no explanations. That's always my problem. If you're going to play those shenanigans, you better explain them. So yeah, Sin is referring to what I had been saying. They had said 80 million, but there's a lot of mainstream, not like Valiant Renegade. Well, Valiant Renegade's quickly becoming mainstream, but not in our circles, but in the true mainstream, that are doubting. They're saying, 80 million. No, we're hearing more like 100 million, but still, it's not going to make money.
I also thought one of the ideas behind the Venomverse, though, was that if they remember how we did this story a couple of years ago when they were like, Tom Holland's going to have to leave the MCU and Spider-Man's going to leave the MCU because they're not dealing the rights. I think this was a backdoor to have Spider-Man go to this other universe, maybe the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and he would be existing with Venom and all the other characters in this other Spider-Verse. But then
I think
they ended up working out with Disney, and now he's still in the MCU.
Yeah, I think that's what they were planning, but you have two different studios that have two very different ideas about what to do with this character. And I mean, Spider-Man, and Sony desperately trying to hold on to any portion of Spider-Man that they can.
Yeah. That's another thing the MCU completely forgot about: the Vulture and the Scorpion, which they hinted would come again after Homecoming. Yeah, they drop a lot of things. Nothing. I gotta tell you that the DCU is most notorious for dropping like like these plot point things that never come to fruition.
Well, look at the Incredible Hulk and the what was it, the Master that was hinted at that we never got.
Oh, Leader, right? Yeah,
The
Leader was
leader, the
supposed to
leader.
show
Thank
up.
you.
Yes, and we never got him. We never got. Uh, they had that weird ending of X-Men 3 where Professor X was he in a younger body or something at the end of that, and
Oh
never was
God, that was
followed
a
up.
stupid timeline. That's best
The
forgotten. Yeah.
X-Men movies had a lot of problems, but I still like them. Did not realize, yeah, they're separate dimensions. In fact, if you watch the thing at the end of No Way Home, you see Eddie Brock from the Venom verse,
Yeah.
Tom Hardy in the Spider-Man universe, and then he gets sucked back, but he leaves a piece of the symbiote behind. I guess they want to have the symbiote in the Tom Holland Spider movies. Now they can have a different version of Venom or the symbiote. I don't care. I'm getting a headache. Let's move on.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh.
MTV Geek. You like this, huh?
Yes. Let me
Do
go
you
ahead
believe
and
this? We're just
this
pivoting
was
because we're going to talk about this all night about multiverses, and I'm done.
this was one that you actually had kind of wanted to bypass because and I understand why. We don't usually deal in rumors and speculation here, but there are some points that I wanted to make about this.
All right, so I'll read the brief
Mhm.
article. As all of you are probably aware by now, Disney made big news last week when they announced they had purchased Lucasfilm for over $4 billion. It looks like Mickey and company haven't put away the old checkbook just yet. MTV. Wait a minute. This is an old article?
Oh, it might be.
What the heck? Wait a minute.
Did I send you the wrong article? Because I was doing some history on this.
Okay, maybe you did. Well, anyway, let's just talk about the rumor in general. Hopefully, I didn't send you the wrong article too, because I could have said, "Oh, wow, this is news from 10 years ago."
Well, no, because there's been a lot of talk about this week because there have been we did just last week. We were talking about Hasbro and
Yes,
how
about ten,
they've had such a
10 cent
bad
or something someone was gonna buy
D&D, which
D&D.
turned out
Yes,
not to be the
yeah.
case. But these kinds of speculations are very easy to believe when you have a company that's clearly going bankrupt. Hasbro has had a very bad year. We've been reporting on layoffs over there. And then this past week, there has been a lot of talk about Hasbro pushing back on Disney, saying it's your fault. The failure of Marvel and Lucasfilm and everything you want us to make toys of, you're forcing us to do this. And then we have warehouses of these toys that we can't even get sold at Ollie's. And this is something I've been talking about on Friday nights. We've been talking about it on this channel for a long time. So then this past week, these rumors are coming out that in response, Disney may be wanting to buy Hasbro, just buy them outright. And when they're from a business standpoint, you can kind of see it. It's like, well, if you are the people we want to license with, and we're having problems with you, we'll just absorb you, make you ours, and then we can do whatever we want. Especially when the company isn't doing well in the stock market and they've laid off and it's become a devalued company. It's easier to acquire. Problem is, we're talking about friggin' Disney here, who I know everyone thinks Disney has infinite money and they're too big to fail and they'll be just fine. But the reality is very different from what people believe. Okay? Disney does not have solvency to be buying stuff at this time. But the fact that the rumor is out there means someone has talked about it behind the scenes at Disney.
Yeah.
For it to even be a rumor.
Do you think part of it could also be because they want Hasbro toy properties to make into movies so they can get that Barbie money? Could that have been talked about?
Well, Barbie is Mattel, but
Well, I know that's my point, though. They're not going to own Barbie, but does Hasbro have an
here's the
equivalent?
problem. What does Hasbro have?
They have the Bratz dolls. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe they own Mr. Potato Head.
Yes,
and they own a lot of board games.
So like this life, the game of life would be a movie.
I mean,
Movie like.
yeah, Hasbro doesn't own any properties that would easily be turned into movies, except maybe Dungeons and Dragons. If someone would pay attention to what Dungeons and Dragons is, what its lore is, and make some actual movies based on the actual properties
You
of Dungeons and
have
Dragons.
novels. You have a whole ton of novels, D&D novels that were
But they'll
widely
put
read and
somebody
loved.
like Kevin Feige or Kathleen Kennedy in charge of it and go, well, we got Dungeons and Dragons, but of course there's no books that we could look at, or novels to draw from, and comic books.
You could do movies, TV series based on these books that were very popular. You have the keys to the kingdom, but you don't want to give an author
right,
a 15th of 1%. That's too much. You don't want to do that.
Makes a point. I think G.I. Joe is a Hasbro property. However, how lucrative is that going to be as a movie franchise, given that it's already had a movie franchise? But I say that, and yet, they've had a bunch of Marvel movies before Disney came in, and so who knows? You may have something there. Magic the Gathering absolutely could be, but it would require a great deal of talent to do it. I don't think though that's look at what Disney did with 20th Century Fox. Look at all the properties they got from 20th Century Fox and have done bupkis with it. They want to acquire Hasbro because it's their toy outlet.
Inhumanoids.
Yeah. These are a bunch of properties that I guarantee you nobody is interested in. Nobody is interested in making movies of Mask, Visionaries, My Little Pony, Inhuman. Oh, I can only imagine what they do with My Little Pony.
Were Visionaries the guys that had the holograms for faces? Or they had a hologram on their chest?
I don't remember.
I might have had a couple of those growing up. I preferred this other brand of hologram toys. I used to buy hologram action figures because they had holograms in them, and I thought they were cool. But anyway.
But the problem is that they would want to turn this into our opportunity to put out all the Ray figures that we want and flood the market with them, and a bunch of Captain Marvel without having to pay a license, the deal with a licensure. Would just do it ourselves, and it would be complete crap. I mean, at least Hasbro has. It's very clear to me, even though I have problems with Hasbro's distribution models and some of the decisions they've made, it's very clear to me that they know within the licenses that they have, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, they know what people really want, and they are pressured to make the stuff that Disney wants them to make. If that didn't exist, Disney would just be giving you Rose Tico figures and Ray figures and Kylo Ren figures. That's what you'd be getting.
Someday, excess boxes of Ray figures will be created to build affordable housing. They'll mix them with the cement.
Seriously, melt them down to make insulation. That's about the best you can do with them. Yeah, Geode the Rock. Yeah.
Geode. Oh man, I remember Rocks and Bugs and Things. That was a cool toy line. You remember those?
I remember that actually.
They were funny. We'll talk about those another night. But more Disney news. I should have made a headline. Who is suing Disney this week? Because this is
there's a lot of lawsuits.
There's another one I heard about today, which we might talk about next week. This is ridiculous. It's like every week someone's suing them.
Yep.
I'm waiting.
This one is we're talking about it in terms of Disney, but there are a lot of companies getting hit with this same basic lawsuit. ESG is killing companies. We predicted it. We said it. We tried to warn people. Now, this is one of those things where no shock, right? You jump off that cliff, you're going to hit the ground at terminal velocity and you will die. No, I won't. I'll be fine. Okay.
Chris Gore, you should check out Film Threat and also his website for Film Threat. They've been following a lot of inside industry stuff that's been going on behind the scene at Disney, how certain animators of a certain sex and ethnicity are being treated over there, and it's not pretty. And again, we almost talked about this same subject matter a few weeks ago. We had too much news to cover, and as I told Troy at the time, this isn't going away.
Yep.
But
I said, should I hold on to this article? He goes, no, because there'll be an updated one.
hold on a second. Did I paste this in the wrong part? Okay, I did, but it's okay. It's here. The Walt Disney Company is facing a new lawsuit, this time from a group of powerful figures from the former Trump administration who claim the corporation is intentionally discriminating against white American men, Christians, and Jews simply because of their race, sex, religion, and citizenship. Disney is no stranger to litigation on both sides of the court. The company is famously prone to suing individuals, businesses, and even state governments for everything from copyright infringement to First Amendment violations. At the moment, Disney is locked in a number of cases, including multiple lawsuits involving Governor Ron DeSantis and his Central Florida Tourism Oversight District
Most
Board
of which
Directors.
they've already lost.
Yeah. The new lawsuit from American First Legal, AFL, is one of the more dramatic and potentially damaging that Disney has faced in a long time. In a press statement, the AFL, which has been described as right-of-center nonprofit organization that aims to use litigation to oppose left-center politics enacted by the Biden administration, claims that Disney is violating Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 by engaging in illegal race, sex, and national origin discrimination. We've talked about these things in passing over the years, and you kept saying this is illegal and against the law for companies to do this. I remember you specifically saying this, and that lawsuits were going to happen. And what's happening now? Okay.
Well, there's been a lot of companies outside of the entertainment industry that have already been sued in very big ways, and they're all winning.
So let me go on to finish reading up. This is specifically the ALF lawsuit is alleging that Disney's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI). Notice how if you rearrange those letters, it's DIE. I'm just saying effort amounts to illegal discrimination against white American men. It claims that DEI efforts to break the Civil Rights Act by requiring hiring and promotion of underrepresented groups like Black, Latino, and LGBTQIA plus individuals. The lawsuit specifically cites a memo from the Walt Disney Company that breaks down inclusion standards, which can be seen in the following tweet. The memo has recently become a favorite of the far right. Figures who claim it reveals that Disney is intentionally and illegally discriminating against people, largely white men. Controversial billionaire Elon Musk recently called it a mandatory institutionalized racism and sexism. That a related FAQ document was racist, sexist, etc. discriminatory set of laws enforced by Disney's DEI Gestapo. So that's Elon Musk, who's no fan of Disney, as we've as we've shown in the past. Actually, I didn't quote that tweet. Let me take a look at it real quick. Give me a second.
Oh, you want the Elon quote? I can do that.
No, the American First Legal.
Go
okay,
yourself.
No, I know that. I know that quote. Okay, no, it's a whole thing. You can check out the tweet, Disney's inclusion standards. So it's there in black and white. This is what they were saying in this company, what they're doing. I have not talked about this specifically in regards to specifically white men being discriminated against, because this is one of these things where we really do need insurmountable proof that this is just happening. But I'm hoping through this case we're going to find that out. Let's see. It goes on to say Musk also offered to fund the legal battles of anyone who feels that they either lost a job or opportunity, were fired because of these DEI standards, which was swiftly taken up by former Star Wars actor Gina Carano, former Keeping Up with the Kardashians star Caitlyn Jenner, who also appears to want the South African businessman to bankroll a lawsuit against Disney for not carrying her on the on a Hulu show, though Musk has not made any public statements regarding that. AFL President Stephen Miller, who is best known as an advisor for former President Trump, released the following statements. Disney appears to be engaged in pervasive, far-reaching, and illegal race and sex discrimination violation of 1964 Civil Rights Act. Accordingly, we have filed a formal complaint with EEOC that Disney is engaged in illegal conduct. It is sad and tragic that a company whose name was once synonymous with wholesome and charming childhood fantasies is now dedicated to spreading divisive bigotry. We urge Disney to cease and desist its unlawful and destructive conduct at once. So I'm shocked that this is all going on.
Well,
I'm not shocked shocked that it's happening behind the scenes. I'm shocked that now it's being challenged because I thought this stuff was going to be underground for years.
What I find
that'd be stuff
humorous,
whispered about and rumors that they're doing this, but nobody would know about it. Go
what
ahead.
I find a little bit humorous is you can tell by the language of this article the bias there, but even through the bias, you know, what's obvious is obvious. They can't even deny what this is. They put little zingers in there about, you know, Elon Musk and, you know, implications about other things, but they can't spin away from how bad this is. Look, you know, being biased is being biased, you know, and we have a law in place to prevent that. You know, this is what I always say when you talk about, you know, the patriarchy or institutionalized racism or this or that or whatever. I tell you, tell me one law you would like to see put in place that will make it fair, that doesn't already exist.
Yeah.
It's already illegal to pay someone less money because of their gender, because of their race, because of any other thing. It's illegal to not hire someone based on gender, race, and other protected statuses. And that applies to all of them, not just the one you like. Because if it did, then you are the racist or the sexist or the whatever the case.
You're not supposed to discriminate against any group based on these things, including groups that you may personally not like because of your far left ideology.
Yeah.
Which also, I'm sorry, in social justice there is a strand of it that was playing around with the idea. I remember hearing about this years ago that, you know, the only way to combat you know, discrimination is with discrimination from the people who are privileged or what they deem as having the privilege. Do you understand? You have to discriminate against.
Yeah, and that's brilliant because an eye for an eye is going to leave everybody blind.
Yes, which is basically it. And the idea behind the Civil Rights Act, it was just supposed to make it a clean slate and just, you don't discriminate against anybody.
Right. It's wrong. You don't do it anymore. And if you do, it's illegal and you'll be prosecuted and fined.
I want to find out specifically what is happening behind the scenes. Like I said, Chris Gore is hearing from anonymous sources what is. I really want this stuff though to come out into the daylight instead of it being a bunch of whispers.
These lawsuits
right now.
though are bringing it into the
into,
not only into the daylight but into the mainstream.
I want to know who
when
fired.
Inside the Magic is forced to report on this and they can't really spin it. There you go.
I want to know who fired Gina Carano. That's one of my big things with that.
That's because really what I believe this whole lawsuit is about. It's not about her getting her job back. It's not about money. It's just not.
I want to know who fired her because apparently everybody was, I think even Kathleen Kennedy was like, well, I don't know who did it or I wasn't the one who did it. Like everyone's dancing around. Someone had to, otherwise she's not fired. Yep. If no one fired her, then she still works for Disney.
And that's what disclosure is for. They are going to say, we want your records. We want to know, you know, who talked to this news outlet and gave this statement. Who is responsible? Because you know what? Overall, Disney is responsible.
They're a very
Disney's going to throw somebody under the bus for this.
They're a very troubling comment. In fact, if you want, Troy, if you have, I don't know if you have access to it right now, but remember you sent me that link about the a certain other documentary that they refuse to take off Disney Plus that's exposing our allies over in Afghanistan. That's another thing going on. I think WDW Pro was talking about that, right?
Yeah, I will
check out his channel. You can talk about it.
What I may end up doing is doing
a Friday stream. Yeah,
I may do a Friday stream about that.
We'll talk about that more another time, though. That's really insidious. I mean, this stuff is awful, but that one takes the cake out of everything I've heard them do.
Yes, it does.
All right, and 1,700 Disneyland employees announced plans to unionize.
This is I am laughing about this. So this comes right at the same time that they're gearing up for Moana 2, and I don't know if I don't think we have an article about it, but apparently Moana 2, everybody in Burbank is shocked to find out that, it's going to be made with contractors in Canada.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, yeah, we want to unionize. Okay, good luck with that. Tell me how unionizing worked out for the auto industry in Detroit.
Oh my goodness.
Moana 2 Electric Boogaloo. Thank you, Samuel. Yes, exactly.
I have to say, IGN apparently is unionizing too, the IGN staff. And people,
Uh-huh.
they were talking about that on Side Scrollers, which is a channel I go to sometimes, and they were like, "Are you nuts? You're all going to get
Yeah.
you're going to get fired because they're already
Look,
not
in
making money."
principle, I agree with the concept of collective bargaining, but institutionalizing your union is a great way to just destroy your whole industry.
Yeah.
It really is. It's
So
it's it's basically like, yeah, I understand there are some aspects of socialism that sound like they make sense, but yeah, go ahead and try and make that the basis of your whole government and tell me how that works out for
well, what was the famous quote? Socialism works until you run out of other people's money.
you. Yeah. Well,
Margaret
I mean,
Thatcher,
look
I
at
think,
all the
said that.
people that, and this isn't a unionizing thing, but it's the same concept. We want $15 an hour minimum wage. We want a
Right.
living wage, right? We want 50, maybe $20 an hour minimum wage. And we all said, okay, guess what's going to happen? McDonald's is going to get rid of all the workers and they're going to put in, self-serve. And they're like, no, that's not going to happen. Well, guess what's happened?
Yeah.
Same thing's happening at your grocery store. All the checkout counters are, you're getting less and less of them. Now it's all self-checkout. Good luck with that.
Yes. Some of the only Disneyland resort workers who are not unionized announced today that they are organizing with Actors Equity Association. Ironically, they are among the most public facing of the resort's employees, calling themselves Magic United. Cast members who work in Disneyland Resort's character and parades department began circulating union authorization to 1,700 cast members who will seek voluntary recognition from Disney Resort Entertainment when a majority of the workers have signed. Characters and parades employees are those who roam the park dressed as Mickey Mouse or Elsa from Frozen.
Right.
They bring characters to life in shows, parades, and meet and greets the character dining experiences. Host trainers, leads, and others that support performers are also included in the effort. It's worth noting that cast members who do the same work at Walt Disney World have been unionized for decades. Among the concerns noted in a statement from the unions are safe and sanitary workplace conditions, a fair wage, and more transparency in scheduling and rehiring decisions. A Disneyland official said in a statement to Deadline, "We believe that our cast members deserve to have all the facts and the right to a confidential vote that recognize their individual choices." What?
Now, in fairness,
Sounds
I
like
will say,
doublespeak. I don't
yeah,
know
it
what that
does.
means.
I will say this. Their gripes are legit. Okay. I've known people that have held those jobs. And I've heard the conditions they work under, and it's bullshit. But there are degrees to which you should act. I mean, obviously the most extreme is screw this job, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
But up to that point, you also have to stop and say, what are my legal rights under state law? Right? And then start saying, HR, I have a real problem with this. And I think that based on the state law and, labor conditions and so forth, I think you need to reconsider this. And then if they fire you, you've got a phenomenal lawsuit. You got a great lawsuit, but that's what you're supposed to do on an individual basis. And usually if enough employees on an individual basis say, look, the scheduling that you're giving us is BS. We cannot function this way. And the labor laws say it's got to be this way. Right. If enough people say that, they got to start, saying, yeah, maybe we need to comply. Or you go to the state board and you go, guess what? Disney is doing this, that, and the other. We want to file a complaint. See?
Yeah.
That's usually the steps you want to take before you go, we're going to unionize. Okay.
Well, people they think union sounds sexy, I guess. I don't know. You know what I don't understand? I'm looking at this Mickey Mouse and I'm thinking, what if he was mandated to wear 2 masks underneath that for COVID reasons, right?
Oh
And then they said,
God.
put the mask over it, but I'm already wearing a mask. You're making me wear masks underneath. You want to keep your
Well, and when you
passes out in the
consider the conditions
68s.
that they're under, how many of them like end up with heat exhaustion in those outfits
Yeah.
for the hours that they end up wearing them? It's very brutal. It really, really is. So if you add on some sort of stupidity like that, oh, forget it.
Surprised no one's done a horror story about a creepy guy in a Mickey Mouse outfit. Maybe they have on Creepypasta.
We did a story about it a couple weeks ago. It's going to be called Steamboat Willie.
It'd be funny if that was just about a guy who wore a Steamboat Willie costume at a park and went nuts or something. Is that what the plot
I
was?
have no idea what it's going to be about, but yeah, you can very much guarantee those kinds of stories are going to be coming. So just
Anyway,
watch for that.
well, good luck, Disneyland employees. We'll see how this pans out for you.
But the other side of the coin is another black eye for Disney, and Nelson Peltz can't come soon enough.
Disney is not the happiest place on earth right now.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll tell you what, all this talk about Mandalorian starting to film in the summertime and stuff like that, I wonder what happens if Nelson Peltz's bid in April comes to pass. That could change the whole ball of wax.
Maybe they could have Gina Carano in the Mandalorian movie.
I mean, I'm no longer at a point where I even want to consider.
No, you'd probably
like
rather
that.
just stay where you are. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it would be hysterical, and that is really the only way to save Star Wars. Save in quotes, save Star Wars, right? Is for someone to come in and completely clean house and say, Bob, you're out of here. Kathleen, you're out of here. Kevin Feige, you're out of here. All of you people in the writer's room, goodbye. Start bringing in real talent, and say, hey, look, John, what do we do with Star Wars? He goes, well, I've got my Ranger of the Republic. You let me do that, and I can straighten this out for you.
Huh.
Bring back Gina to headline it. That'll go a long way. Okay, man, make it happen. That's what it's going to take. It ain't going to happen, but that's what it would take. And it's more possible now than it ever was.
What is Gina Carano doing at the moment? She's involved in a lawsuit.
Yeah, very, very big.
She was doing something else for Daily Wire. I know she was doing something.
She did 2 films for Daily Wire.
Yeah.
But this is part of why she's pulling this lawsuit, because they so badly hurt her career and engaged in a very public and obvious campaign against her. That breaks all kinds of laws.
People forget she had a career well before she got involved with Disney. She was in Deadpool that you showed on Saturday night, right? She was one of the villains, right?
That's right. That was 20th Century Fox. Yeah,
20th Century Fox, before everything went nuts.
Before it became Disney. See, that's the problem. And this was something else that everyone pointed out as Disney was acquiring all these properties. It's like, holy crap, how am I going to get a job if I can't work for Disney? Well, that's what antitrust laws are supposed to be for.
Disney. We're going to have more news on Disney next week because it's not stopping. I already have another article included.
I know.
I think I know the one I'm talking about, but I'll bring it up with you after the stream. Stellar Blade. Okay, now we move on to video games. I joke with Troy, the title of this next section just could have been entitled Dad Ass for the next 2 articles, but Stellar Blade is a new game coming out for the PlayStation 5. I don't know if any of you in the chat have a PlayStation 5. It is a PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Well, you guys know me. When it comes to gaming, I'm just like, whatever Boomer says.
I recommend any of you who own the PlayStation 5, please go out and support this game. This would be the greatest moment in the culture war if this game were to do very well, because I'm going to read you an article because it's actually actively fighting back. Because I even said, even some of the big Japanese companies were sort of not fully capitulating, but they were, trying. But now we have, I guess, Korea. Look at this. This is a brand new game from a Korean studio. It's a Sony exclusive. And so Stellar Blade is one of the most highly anticipated Games releases of 2024 for the PlayStation 5. The game received a slot during PlayStation State of Play on January 31st when a release date of April 26th was revealed. This is the first time I've wanted to buy a PlayStation 5 just to play this game. I've actually thought, wow, this might. Anyway,
Careful. This is their plan. This is what they
get you in, and then it's all gross Mary Jane games or something. No, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Shift Up, the studio behind Stellar Blade, is known for the attention to detail they bring to their characters. Most famously, the butt jiggle physics that were added to gacha game Goddess of Victory Nikkei. I don't know what that game is. That sounds interesting. It is yet another title where the developers spent extra time on the characters' backsides. In an interview with Games Radar, Hyung Tae Kim gave more insight into the creation of Eve for their upcoming single-player adventure. That's another thing. It's a nice single-player game. None of this online junk.
Yep.
Stellar Blade's main character Eve is modeled after a South Korean model named Shin Jae-un. According to the developers, the idea of having a quote-unquote ideal and attractive character was one of the game's main points. When it comes to the design, we put special attention on the back of her character because the player is always facing the back of the character when they're playing.
I mean,
have these guys not been paying attention the past 10 years to industry standards? What is going on here? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you were saying.
No, I was just going to say it's actually a fairly plausible argument. I mean, you're looking at the back of their head. The back of their head better be well detailed. And your butt is, because I could totally see the memes, right? If they didn't put the physics in, it's like, she's running around. I'm looking at her butt through this whole movie, and it doesn't move like it's solid. Is she made out of plastic?
That's what they see the most of, so we figured it was pretty important. Stellar Blade rated M when it's released in the PlayStation 5, which Hyung Tae Kim also touches on in the interview. Not only is the game's content violent, but it seems that the fan service also plays in the rating. Honestly, when I play a game, I would like to see someone who is better looking than myself.
Right?
That's what I want. I don't want to see something normal. I want to see something more ideal. I think that is very important in a form of entertainment. This is, after all, entertainment targeted for adults. I want to scream bass right now at this man.
Right?
What? It's like the emperor has no clothes, and we've all been playing along and heaming on. And this guy says, "Well, no, I want an attractive butt to look at in my game. This is an idealized form." And I'm like, "It's yes." Players can see Eve up close and personal when the game launches on April 26th. As a Sony exclusive title, Stellar Blade will not be available for Xbox, Nintendo Switch, or PC. Boo!
Yeah.
How about a PlayStation 4 version where she has half the jiggle physics? Okay, never mind. We're probably going to get it because I have a PlayStation 4. It's not coming out on anything but PS5. What's the chat saying? And here we need plastic surgery, CTE. Oh, what are we talking about? Mix-a-Lot? Hold on. Lester Skeptitech, welcome. Yep. Stellar Blade character got Rogue's cheeks after Disney took them away. Oh man. Disney doesn't. I'm really worrying that Disney has the X-Men and they don't understand the X-Men appeal. The one thing that with the big appeal of the X-Men character, especially in the 90s, is that both the men and the women were very good looking.
Mm-hmm.
They filled out the suits well, if you know what I mean. And just they used to do swimsuit issues of Marvel Comics, or swimsuit things you could buy. I too like nice video game, but so you can play it in Stellar Blade. Please, any of you own a PlayStation 5, please consider picking this up. Send a message to Anita Sarkeesian that the big butts are back, okay?
And I will always, point out, for those of you that, want to complain about the male gaze and blah, 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 blah. Last thing you want to do is put out a low res, low pixel, female character with triangle boobs, okay? People will be laughing about it forever. Speaking of...
Now, to be fair, yes. Yeah, Tomb Raider remastered. I also want to say, speaking of butts, we have Lara Croft. You know
Hmm.
the guy that created Lara Croft, the original created the original Tomb Raider. I remember this from an interview back in a magazine back in the '90s when this came out, and he said, I was trying to decide how to make the main character, but I figure if I was stuck playing a character and looking at his back, I'd rather have be a woman and look at her butt the whole game or something.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
yeah.
Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered includes trigger warnings from Crystal Dynamics. Okay, so let's do some preface on this. A few months ago, Tomb Raider 1 and 3 remastered was announced with kind of little fanfare. I think this was announced on a Nintendo Switch stream. It's out on all systems now. And what this is it's remasters of the original Tomb Raider games. You can also play it with newer graphics. You can actually switch on the fly, have it look like the old PlayStation games, or have it look a little more smoothed out. The way she looks in the game with the smooth out graphics, she looks how she looks in the cutscenes, like here. So you can play them either way. It includes all three of the original Tomb Raider games, the first three in the series, and they've gotten rave reviews overall. You can get them on everything. It's available on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series, also PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, and PC, I guess, through Steam. So you can play these games and enjoy them, and they're good. Did I say I do love big butts? Maybe I did. I love that song too.
And you cannot lie.
That's a great wedding song, by the way.
Right.
Anyway,
Look into the Jonathan Colton version of that. He does a really nice. He takes that Sir Mix-a-Lot song and turns it into almost a ballad. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny when a girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face.
What?
I get so. Oh yeah, it's good. You gotta check it out. It's on
All
YouTube.
right.
You can
I
find
don't know. I'll take your word for it. I'll see. I agree. That's why I always play Chun-Li or Cammy in Street Fighter 2 because I'd
Right?
rather look at girls than guys. I have to
But
say something. What happened? What?
there's something else that you gamers got to consider when it comes to female characters in action games. There is the character profile. They tend to be a little bit more nimble. They've got sometimes they're a little bit shorter, so they're easier to control as characters on a screen. You know.
Yeah.
It's marginal, but if you are a real hardcore gamer, it makes a difference. And there are some games in some situations where I would rather play the female character just to get through certain parts because it's easier.
Yeah, well, that's true. Except in the case of Turok 3, where the female character is taller than the male character.
I don't even know what that is.
Turok
Okay.
Dinosaur Hunter.
Okay.
It's what we had on Nintendo 64 when PlayStation had Tomb Raider. We had Turok, and that was a first-person shooter. Never mind. Let's just get into the article. Never heard of Turok Dinosaur Hunter. You can get it on PC now. It's a first-person shooter.
Okay.
Just say, never mind. Okay. Where am I? I'm all discombobulated because of the butts. Hold on. Okay. Crystal Dynamics has added a warning to Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered, flagging what it described as racial and ethnic stereotypes. Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered includes new versions of the first three Tomb Raider games developed by defunct UK studio Core Design in the mid-late 90s to massive sales success. Yeah, Core is no longer with us. Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered, out this week on modern consoles and PC, includes a message from current Tomb Raider custodian Crystal Dynamics that warns against some of the content in the game and explains why the developer chose to leave it in. Here is the message, viewed and verified by IGN in full. The game in this collection contains offensive depictions of people and cultures rooted in racial and ethnic stereotypes. These stereotypes are deeply harmful, inexcusable, and do not align with our values at Crystal Dynamics. Rather than removing this content, we have chosen to present it here in its original form, unaltered, in the hopes that we may acknowledge its harmful impact and learn from it. Okay, while Crystal Dynamics failed to specify which parts of the game sparked the content warning, it may be related to the depiction of South Pacific Islanders in the Tomb Raider 3. These tribesmen, who are implied to be cannibals, wield pointed axes and shoot poison darts from blowguns as they battle Lara Croft, issuing animal-like death cries as they are defeated. Now, I watched a Melanie Mack video talking about this, and she says in this part of the game, the Pacific Islanders are being controlled by an evil artifact force. That's why they're attacking Lara, not because they were savage or anything. That's what she pointed out in the review, in her review of this game. I also want to make something else too. People are making a point that this Crystal Dynamics, I don't understand why they made these remasters and then put this disclaimer. They're the custodian of the license right now. Actually, Embracer Group is the custodian of the license. Crystal Dynamics was bought by Embracer Group, and now they have the Tomb Raider license. Crystal Dynamics did not work on this remaster trilogy. It was Aspyr that worked on this. Funny, they were the people that were originally going to do the Knights of the Old Republic remake, and since playing this Tomb Raider remake, maybe they would have been a good choice for that Knights of the Old Republic remake, because they did a good job here. And so my response to you in the chat who get annoyed by this trigger warning, please do not let this prevent you from buying this game. Yeah, and if you wanted to buy if you want a great way to play the original Tomb Raider games on your favorite console of choice, go ahead and pick this up. This is not the fault of Aspyr. It's not the fault of Core Design, and the games themselves have been left unaltered. Now, if Crystal Dynamics comes out with their new Tomb Raider game later on, feel free to skip that one or anything else they make. That's my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Skip everything by Crystal Dynamics and send a message to Embracer Group. You want old classic Tomb Raider and not this whatever monstrosity Crystal Dynamics has in store for us in the future.
And
anyway,
definitely check out Retro Blasting.
Yeah, he's a big
YouTube channel has a bunch of really good videos, retrospective on Lara Croft, and specifically about these three games. Should definitely check out. And they're not old videos. They're from just last 2023. But
I'm sure he'll do something on this remastered collection. Maybe he'll give a review of it. I should ask him. Yeah. It's a good release. It's a solid release. It lets you, and like I said, it lets you play with facsimile of the old graphics or new graphics. It also lets you play with the old controls. So if you don't like the modern controls, you can play with the old grid-based tank controls. They do allow you to go between playing that way or with a more modern way. So even purists should like this.
I gotta say, that's got to be very, very different. I mean, you could almost play it all the way through one way and then play it the other way.
You could, yes. Because I know Melanie Mack was being a stickler saying if they do this collection, they better have the grid-based controls. Because I guess that's how they grew up playing it. Because remember, when the PlayStation came out, there were no analog sticks. The analog stick was an invention of Nintendo for the Nintendo 64, but that came out later. So the 3D games had to be controlled with directional pads and buttons. So you had to move her in a very specific way. And some people prefer that because that's how the games were designed. But now they've added analog controls, a new modern control scheme if you want to play it how modern games are played. But worth picking up, and just laugh at the message if you see it. Yeah, I know Blaze from Streets of Rage. They did good with her in the Streets of Rage 4 they came out with recently, too. They did good with Blaze. I guess we're still on game-related talk, aren't we?
Well, we're transitioning into film, but yeah.
I didn't mention this last week because the trailer had premiered for this, but I found another article, so I thought, okay, cool. Knuckles spin-off show trailer smashes Paramount Plus viewership records. You probably didn't get a chance to watch this trailer for this, did you? But
no, I did not.
It's funny because I want to say Knuckles, if I could describe his personality to you, he has sort of a Klingon mentality. He's from
I like it already.
Race. He has a warrior race because there's a scene in it because now he's stuck on Earth, but he's, I guess, been adopted with Sonic in his new home or whatever, right? With the guy that played Cyclops in the X-Men movies and his wife. But anyway, there's a scene where he's trying to adjust living on Earth, and he says, "Well, like he redesigned their living room, and he said." He had a dog in the living room, like tied up, and then he says, "I'm going to have these two mortal enemies fight it out for once." And he opens up the gate, and the mailman walks out, and it's like, "Why am I here?" It's like, no, you don't do this. This is not normal behavior, Knuckles. So, but apparently, this is actually the first time. You know, they do all these Marvel spin-off series and things, and I could give a crap, but this is actually a spin-off series I actually want to watch when it comes out. The Sonic the Hedgehog live-action movies have broken all sorts of box office records so far, and it looks like Paramount could have another huge hit on its hands with the upcoming 6-episode streaming event Knuckles due out on 26 April. Well, they need a hit, don't they? We'll talk about that in a minute. According to Collider, the trailer for this new series featuring the voice of Idris Elba has already smashed the viewership records for Paramount Plus across all platforms, trending across both social media and YouTube. Exact figures were not provided. How do we know it smashed records then? Anyway, I'm sorry. I watched it a couple times, but the new series about Knuckles getting to grips with suburban life after saving the day alongside Sonic and Tails in the second movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It also features the return of a few other familiar faces, including Wade, Adam Pawley, and Maddie Wachowski, Tika Sumpter. Played by Tika Sumpter. Jeff Fowler, who has led the movies as director, has also returned for the first episode of Knuckles to make sure it gets off to a good start. He's also busy with the upcoming film Sonic the Hedgehog 3 due out later the year on 20th December. So it looks like he came to direct the first episode of the show before he had to go back to his film directing duties. I think it looks good. It looks like it's retaining the same humor and more focus on Knuckles, but Sonic and Tails are in the series too because they're part of it. So it looks like good, clean family fun that maybe adult gamers can enjoy too. And I don't know if you've seen either of the Sonic movies yet. They're good fun.
No, I haven't, but they're definitely on my to watch list.
Jim Carrey's hilarious in them. I made a point with Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. I miss the days of movies having villains that are just unredemptively evil.
Yeah.
and you have that. I always had brand loyalty to Nintendo, never liked Sonic, but the recent Sonic films have been enjoyable. I was mixed on that brand loyalty Continuum Chronicles because I was in a divided household because my brother had a Sega Genesis and I had the Super Nintendo, so I could still play his Genesis games. And I was typically jealous of his Sonic games until I got the chance to play Donkey Kong Country, which, while not like Sonic, I had sort of a similar, I want to say, not as vanilla vibe as Mario had. It had more of a darker vibe to it. So anyway, let's not get off on a tangent here. Mm-hmm. Oh, and apparently Wonder Woman could kick. Yes. And the Wonder Woman could long legs, greater range of kicking. That makes sense.
And it's very common, especially in games like that where you have both male and female. They would have different skill sets that would make the character. Whether it was because they were female or just because they needed to be different from someone else, there's nothing wrong with that.
Street Fighter 2, if you look at the roster in Street Fighter 2, all the characters are completely different. You have the yoga master, Dalsim, who's very tall and lanky, whereas the Blanca from Brazil, he's more bulkier and electrocute you. I mean, they ran the gamut. That's what was so cool about Street Fighter 2. Cammy was smaller, but she was very nimble and quick, in that game too. But Kylie Minogue played Cammy in the movie as well.
Yes, she did. That's right.
Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile. Paramount laying off 800 staffers, CEO, broad streamline cost efforts. Okay, what? Because the streaming war thing isn't working. First, the stupid thing was they were trying to sell Showtime and Paramount Plus as separate. And then apparently Yellowstone would not premiere on Paramount Plus first. It would be on some paid Paramount channel through cable or satellite. Did you know that? So even if you're paying for Paramount Plus, you don't get first dibs on Yellowstone.
This has been
and the other shows or something. In fact, I don't think it was on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
If you are a studio and you start a streaming channel, you need your entire catalog on that streaming service. There needs to be value for people to come to you. If it's not there, they will say goodbye.
Paramount Global CEO Bob Bakish recently asked his staff to prioritize managing costs and earnings growth amid expectations of looming layoffs and deal chatter surrounding the entertainment giant. Don't worry, the economy's fine. On Tuesday, the CEO made things official.
You notice that a lot of outlets are starting to back off of that position too, because if they want to have any credibility, you can't keep saying the same bullshit that nobody believes.
I know, it's ridiculous. An estimated plans job reduction is an estimated 800 according to sources and cuts abroad over time. The company had about 24,500 employees as of its last 10 through K disclosure, which reflects staff count in December 2022. Backish's memo coincides with what had been an expected significant move to cut costs early this year as Wall Street evaluates Paramount's prospect as a standalone company. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe don't make half a dozen Star Trek series that no one's watching.
That's the big problem. There's unrelated to this article. Well, it's related to this article, but not contained within the article. There's talk about Paramount being bought up by another company, possibly Warner Brothers, but nobody wants Star Trek.
Yeah. Because they screwed it up.
Yup. In a big, big way.
Star Trek was never Star Wars. It had a good following, and it actually in television it did well. It was actually very good as a TV series. But imagine a Star Trek show on HBO. What they could have done.
I don't know.
Apparently HBO has the movies though, not Paramount.
I don't know if they'd have put it on HBO. Maybe we could have gotten Klingon boobs. Oh, wait a minute.
Unfortunately, part of the streaming cost means that today we will begin the difficult process of saying goodbye to some of our valued colleagues across Paramount. Backish wrote in a memo obtained by the Hollywood Reporter. We will be notifying impacted employees who are based in the U.S. by the close of business today. Yikes. The announcement was made just after its channels, CBS, Nickelodeon, Paramount Plus, hosted Super Bowl 28. Am I reading that right? 38, 48, Roman numeral L. What does that mean? Never mind.
Let's
50.
Move. L is 50.
58. There we go. State College. Anyway, which broke a ratings record with 123 million viewers. Added the CEO, there will be impacts in some of our offices based outside the U.S. with the staff to be notified over time. Backish concluded these adjustments will help enable us to build our momentum and execute our strategic vision for the year ahead. And I firmly believe we will have much to be excited about. Oh, do tell what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
When's that meeting going to happen? Like, what are you selling us?
Right.
They have Beavis and Butthead. They have that. And then you can read the memo to everybody. I'm not that interested in reading this out loud. You can read it yourself. But this is, they were saying how they were doing well with the Super Bowl. And last night marked the return of Jon Stewart on The Daily Show.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are fired up about that.
Yeah. So, you know what? If they're doing so well, why are there layoffs?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, Microsoft laid off a bunch of people to make it into the top 3, so I don't know. First thing to go, manpower. Way more than 28. Yes, I know. And just go ahead and laugh.
Everyone in the business world knows this too. If you do a bunch of layoffs to temporarily zhuzh up your numbers, all that means is it's going to be an even worse year the following year.
Yes. In the miss category, darn it, I meant to watch the trailer before the stream for this movie, but never mind. Did you watch the trailer for it?
For which movie?
The Cinderella movie?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to drop the link. I did not. Oh. I actually...
Actually, did you have anything left to say about the Paramount thing? I'm sorry.
No. Okay. It's... Other than, we told you so. We said this when the beginning of the streaming war started, and it's just taken longer than we expected.
Here's another thing, too. Like, I'm more excited about Tulsa King, and we don't have a second season yet. It's like it aired over a year ago. I don't. You're losing momentum on this stuff. They're also losing momentum with Mission Impossible by putting part 2 off till next year.
Yeah, but you also have to remember, regardless, it's not just an excuse. It is reality. The strikes last year set everything back.
Yeah, well, that might have something to do with this then.
And we're going to have more after this summer. Watch. August 1st. Watch for another strike.
All right.
Guarantee it.
So, yeah, you're right. The Teamsters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cinderella, you shall go to the ball and also violently attack a bunch of people. So it's basically Carrie.
Yeah,
Following
it's
in the
scary.
blood-soaked footsteps of last year's Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Cinderella's Revenge, out April 26th, takes a beloved by children character and reframes the story for an appropriate adults-only fashion, as you can see in the EW's exclusive trailer reveal. Darn it, I meant to watch that trailer. Brit director Andy Edwards.
Although I didn't see the trailer, I did see some
Seen
elements of it, and it does not look good.
like a bad film.
It looks bad as in independent, maybe fan film.
Anyway, Brit director Andy Edwards described his film as a retelling of the story that everyone knows up to a point. We have Cinderella, we have the evil stepmother, and we have the two evil sisters, and they treat her pretty badly, he explains. But there's a few twists in it and a few surprises. There's sex and violence, and as well, which you might not expect. So something for everybody. In this new version, Cinders is given a special mask by her fairy godmother, which prompts her to commit acts of mayhem. The idea is that Cinderella is this innocent person, so the mask is a way of turning her to the dark side, Edward says. Cinderella's revenge in the fairy tales is by being successful, marrying the prince, and in this, there's proper physical, violent revenge. The film stars Lauren Sterk.
I have no idea. I don't know her.
Is that Norwegian? Okay, as Cinderella. Well, the character's fairy godmother is portrayed by Natasha Henstridge. Best known for playing the alien creature in 1995's science fiction movie Species. I saw that in the theater when that came out.
Yeah.
And I remember commenting at the time that was the most expensive softcore porn movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
They got Forrest Whitaker in that movie. They got Ben Kingsley in that movie.
I know. That is rather shocking. It's like really. And all it is I don't know. Can we just highlight the H.R. Giger art without using alien, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Can Natasha Henstridge be my fairy godmother? That'd be nice. But we talked about how we are going to play the character and whether she was going to be British. Edward says of Henstridge, having seen Species in theaters back in the 90s, we decided that might be more fun if she played it blonde and Californian. Adds another little twist to the film. That doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Edward shot the film last spring in the UK, where locations included a couple of the country's ancestral homes and the maze at a closed for the season amusement park. Hey, that sounds like a fun place to film.
Yeah, that's why you choose it, because it sounds like a fun place to film. Hey, let's do a film in Hawaii. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii.
You know, half the time that's why locations are chosen, right? I'm sorry. It's
and that's oftentimes why the movies suck. Because they're not doing it because it would be the best for the film. They're doing it because that's where I want to go, you know?
So he says, I wouldn't recommend shooting in a maze. Actually, the director admits it was very excited to live my Kubrick shining fantasies and get the steady cam going around the maze. The reality is you're on one side of the hedge and the person you need in the scene is on the other side of the hedge, and you might be 1 foot from each other, but you have to go all the way around the maze to get back to them, so everything takes 10 times as long. Well, that's good to know. Cinder's Revenge is one of several upcoming movies, which adds a gruesome twist to childhood icons. Producers seem to be hoping to capture the public's imagination the same way Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey did. When images
capture anybody's imagination. I don't think it captured anyone's brain cells at all.
Okay, listen. In addition to Edward's films, the list of coming attractions includes a sequel to Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Bambi, so it's making a sequel. Wonderful.
Bambi the Reckoning.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Mickey's Mousetrap, in which a certain fictional rodent goes on a killing spree. And even a second UK such Cinder's Tale, Cinderella's Curse. Wait, there are 2 horror Cinderella movies coming out?
This is funny.
Oh my word! Okay,
I love deleted scenes. Sasha Hendricks sold.
she's Yeah, she's perfection. Anyway, moving on. Edwards reveals that she is well aware of the latter film, but believes both Cinderella movies can have a fairy tale ending. The UK independent horror scene is a fairly small
You
world.
don't want a fairy tale ending in a horror film. What the hell are they doing?
Anyway, Cinder's Revenge is written by Tom Joffel and produced by Jessica Mathis and Mark L. Lester. The film. Okay, so we're gonna have both Cinderella's Curse and Cinderella's Revenge coming out this movie. I can't wait for the X-rated Care Bears movie. Oh, don't joke.
Oh gosh.
I can see it now. It would be like this insane woman that has a Care Bears collection, and like she lures men back to her house, and then the Care Bears kill them or something. Kill them, or I don't know. I should make
give
these.
You the Care Bear stare.
Wouldn't the glass slippers be considered fat shaming now?
Oh.
I'll take Kristen Miller for a fairy godmother. Maybe she'll be it in Cinderella's Curse. You never know. Okay. Care Bear stare has a whole new meaning. Yes. Anyway. Oh no. Now you got that image in my head.
Yeah.
Twisters. Yes.
Yeah. There we go. Twisters. Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones chase tornadoes in action-packed teaser for a sequel to a movie nobody asked for.
You know, quiet you. In the first trailer, which debuted during the 2022 Super Bowl, the co-stars are among those fleeing from the same terrifying tornadoes that made 1996 Helen Hunt starring Twister a critical and box office hit. Don't forget Bill Paxton was in it.
It's literally the same Twisters, by the way. This is like the tornado's revenge.
Is this like the cousin of the shark in Jaws 4?
Yes, exactly.
Coming after. Okay. Joining Powell and Edgar Jones in the action thriller are Anthony Ramos, Brandon that person, Daryl McCormick, Kiernan Shipka, Shasha Lane, and David Corn Sweat. Twisters is written by Mark L. Smith of The Revenant and directed by Lee Isaac Chung, the Oscar-nominated writer-director of Minari. Among its producers, Frank Marshall, who, along with Steven Spielberg, co-founded Amblin Entertainment, producer of the 1996 movie. In 2022, it was announced that a Twister film was in the works that would follow the events of director Jan de Bont and writers Michael Crichton and Anne-Marie Martin's 1996 hit, in which Hunt and late Bill Paxton played a pair of storm-chasing scientists trying to collect data on a series of tornadoes. I remember when that came out and I saw the movie, and wasn't there like a rival weather team that were like bad guys?
Yeah, it was headed up by the Dread Pirate Wesley, yeah.
Yes. Did you... I'm sorry, when Katie when Katie Nikolai was on your stream for the rewatch, did she comment on rival weather teams that would interfere with her storm chasing and that acted?
I don't remember it coming up, but I didn't really get the impression that was ever really a thing.
Because it's not a thing. They're all scientists. They're on the same side.
Yeah, I was going to say they do generally tend to work together. And if you find out that there's another team working on it at the same time, you would be like, okay, I'll go this way, you go that way. This way, if it breaks this way, and then we share. Then we'll share
information.
And then you would have, your radios connected, so you could be like, no, move, come this way. I'll try to get around the other side. Whatever, they would work together. I'm pretty sure. But I'm sure that I will reach out to meteorologist Katie when this movie comes out. Maybe we'll do a special. Talking about it, because I'm sure she'll be fired up about it.
Wait a minute, hold on. Hunt's idea to write and direct a movie featuring all black and brown storm chasers digs real last April didn't come to fruition, and the reasons that it didn't happen are potentially shady in a way we know the industry should. I don't even want what.
I did not know it was a thing, but I can tell you why.
Well, it's not a thing now. Okay, I guess did Helen Hunt pitch that? I don't know. Don't quote me on this. We're not going to recreate the story from the first one. It's a completely original story. So this is a Twister movie that has nothing to do with the original Twister. There are no
Well,
characters.
and one would imagine, because we're talking about a weather condition. It's not like it's a sentient dragon or something
Okay.
like that.
The lead actor, he was very good in Maverick. I think, again, not that Warner Brothers will listen to me, but if you're looking for a Green Lantern actor, he would be. Hal Jordan actor, he would be your pick. But I don't know. Twisters. Did you see the trailer at all? They might have a thing that can destroy tornadoes and things. Just yeah.
And
Oh,
you're
what am
not
I doing? I
you're
missed
not
the pictures. There's the sip of Bloody Cinderella. Now we have the
yeah.
Twisters. Sorry. Okay.
I fully expect that this is going to be uh if not low key, then very overtly, oh, climate change, you know.
They'll bring it up. Yeah, it'll happen. And they brought it up in the Hurricane Heist, which I like that movie, but they did mention climate change, so they may mention that in here. Look, that's the actor though. I think he'd be a good Hal Jordan. What do you think, huh? Crickets,
Yeah, I guess.
maybe. I don't know. The point is, I think Tom Cruise should play Hal Jordan, but he's probably at this point too old. But since this guy
Yeah.
was sort of playing a Tom Cruise-esque character in Maverick, that's
Actually,
why I was
that's
thinking,
true.
yes,
Tom
yeah.
Cruise back in the day would have
Would have
been
been
perfect.
perfect as Hal Jordan. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh there's a titty twister pun in there somewhere, perhaps. Let's move on to Karate Kid. Now, this is the picture from a few months ago when Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan
Yep.
were talking about the talent scout going on for the next Karate Kid.
Well, I guess we now know who it's gonna be.
All right, so the new Karate Kid has been found. Sony Pictures has cast Ben Wong, if I'm saying that name right, best known as the star of the Disney Plus series American Born Chinese, to star in its latest installment of the coming of age martial arts franchise. The casting comes after a global search that saw thousands of submissions from around the world, with 10,000 entries reported in the first 24 hours alone. According to studio insiders, Wong delivered a standout audition that demonstrated his deep connection to the character. It also helped that he is fluent in Mandarin and highly skilled across many forms of martial arts, including karate, Wing Chun, Kung Fu, Gumdo, Kempo, and Taekwondo. Okay, yeah, I guess that's a good resume.
Yeah.
Some of those skills were already showcased on American Born Chinese, the well-regarded adaptation of the acclaimed coming-of-age fantasy graphic novel by Jean Lun Yang, and that also starred Michelle Yeoh. The new Karate Kid will have Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio reprising their iconic characters from previous Karate Kid films. Plot details are being kept under a bonsai tree, but the new installment will bring the story to the East Coast and focus on a teen from China who finds strength and direction via martial arts and a tough but wise mentor, or maybe even two. So this makes me very curious. How are they going to integrate the Jackie Chan character from this Karate Kid movie with Ralph Macchio's?
I don't know. But I have enough faith in what's been going on with the franchise,
With Cobra Kai and all
with
that.
Cobra Kai and everything, that there is room for it. Let's face it. That's the whole point of Cobra Kai, is finding out that you can love the characters that went before, but there's characters touching them in other ways, especially over a whole series of movies, that their histories and their stories are important too. Now they're just saying, you know what? Even though this movie seems to have been completely unrelated, we can integrate it.
I have a suspicion that when you get to the end of the, like they have a post-credit scene, you'll see Johnny Lawrence show up and say, "Hey, kitty, you want a real teacher? You come over here."
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I
No,
don't know how. We don't even know how they're going to end Cobra Kai yet, do we? So I'm just.
no, we don't. Actually, CK, I don't think he was me, because he couldn't have been Miyagi, because it was set in China. Miyagi is Japanese.
Well, I hope they didn't call him Mr.
They
Miyagi.
didn't.
Okay, they didn't. Yeah, I know it was following some similar beats.
But it was very different because, and let's face it, it's a misnomer to have called it the Karate Kid. It was Kung Fu.
And I
I
think
mean, he
yeah.
literally says that in the movie. I want you to teach me karate. It's not karate. It's Kung Fu.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. keep your fingers crossed and give the benefit of the doubt if it's the same people involved as in Cobra Kai. I'd like to think Sony isn't stupid enough to disconnect it from Cobra Kai. They know what a hit it is, and you can just have this be the same Ralph Macchio, Daniel LaRusso from Cobra Kai. This is what he's doing next, right? Because at this point, his kids are probably going to be growing up in college now. Probably we're going to the Cobra Kai timeline, or maybe his son will show up in the show. His son is such a perfect ass loser on the show.
I'll tell you what, as long as Jaden Smith has nothing to do with it, it'll probably be pretty decent.
Talk about a fall off the cliff for a young actor. That was Will Smith's son. Oh boy.
Okay, so Jackie Chan played Mr. Han. That was his character. And Jaden Smith was Dyer Parker. So yeah, this was not a remake. It was
just a similar scenario, except that I think they made it because I think it might be his mom was a businesswoman working over there, and he was trying to, and he's not getting along because, of course, he's American, so that's part of the problem.
I'll tell you what, one thing that I don't know that I would love the answer to, and you know what, CK, you could look into this because I bet you'd be interested in it too. If you check the credits for the original Karate Kid film and whatnot, you will notice that it says that the name Karate Kid is used, under license or whatever from DC Comics. DC Comics owns the right, or at least at the time did own the rights to the name Karate Kid, because Karate Kid was one of the characters in the Legion of the Superheroes. Now, I don't know if that persisted throughout all the movies, including I think it was 2010 Jackie Chan film, but I'm wondering if that's still the case, if this is still, under license to Warner Brothers because of the name or whatever. I'd just be curious. Not that it matters.
I don't know. Okay, but yeah, I mean, keep your fingers crossed.
Kung Fu Kid would have worked too, though, Samuel Proctor.
They just should have called it the Kung Fu Kid, because we would have put the 2 and 2 together. Okay, this is like Karate Kid, but Kung Fu. It's a different character, different instructor,
and to be honest with you,
martial arts.
I made a custom cover for my Karate Kid 2010 DVD that I just changed using the exact same font, just changed Karate to Kung Fu, and it looks great. Eventually, we'll do a stream related.
You should show your custom covers sometime.
I will. I will do a Karate Kid like film night or something, because I'm going to be doing Monday streams in the future that are going to be movie based, doing rewatches and stuff like that, and it'll be like stuff like this. We just talked about Karate Kid. Okay, let's rewatch the Karate Kid. And I'll show off some of my artwork and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely.
But looking forward to it. We want more in this Cobra Kai universe. I think
it's nice to have something to be looking forward to. Speaking of looking forward to things, later tonight, I am looking forward to The Other Side of Midnight with deleted scenes and special guest Jedi Bill.
Oh, awesome!
There's a link to the stream. I don't really know. There's nothing here indicating what the topic's going to be about, but it is always a great way to round out your weekend with The Other Side of Midnight.
Yes. Other Side of Midnight, great way to start your week.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're not just ending the weekend, you're starting your week. There you go. That's a good way.
Then what else is going on? You have on you don't do anything Monday. Tuesday is going to be Sparkwood and 21.
Live from Sparkwood and 21. We're entering a new phase of the story of Twin Peaks. Now that the
killer has been revealed.
Was taken into custody. No, they arrested Benjamin Horn last episode. Yes. So there will be a manhunt for, you guys should have been watching along with us. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. There's going to be a manhunt for Leland Palmer, and we'll be wrapping up that storyline and stretching out.
And I will have a new thumbnail because unfortunately my character is no longer with the series.
There's a couple others that you could choose, though, that I think would be really good. Characters that haven't been introduced yet.
I
So.
know. I've thought of a couple of them, but you're
Billy
going to think
Zane, right? You're thinking
what?
Billy Zane, aren't you?
I didn't even think about Billy Zane.
Yeah.
I thought of David Duchovny's character as well, but I'm going to be
Oh, that would be funny.
But I'm going with somebody else. You'll probably think it's lame. I can just do a different thumbnail each week. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, you could. You could. That would be.
But yeah. I know I'm doing next week. Looking forward to the Pendragon Cycle. Yeah, that's going to be a Daily Wire production, right? Yeah, I know they're working on that. The Jeremy Boring releases.
Oh, yeah.
So what else is going on? Tuesday, Sparkwood and 21.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. I know. I'll tell you after the stream. I don't want to spoil. Okay. I forgot what actress shows up in Twin Peaks later on. A actress's name begins with Heather. You know what I'm talking about. Heather Graham. I forgot Heather Graham shows up on Twin Peaks.
Yeah, but she doesn't show up until. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, she does towards the end of this season. That's right. She plays what's her name? Sister.
Yes.
Norma. Yeah.
Remember in License to Drive?
License to Drive.
With Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
Oh,
License to Drive.
That's a fuzzy memory. I don't recall.
Oh my goodness, that'll have to be a rewatch. Maybe in the summer on your Monday stream, I'll be like
okay.
Pop by for that. Oh, License to Drive. Oh, that is a wonderful 80s comedy.
Sounds good.
Yes,
I'm sure I've seen it. I'm sure
it's one of the three. Heather Graham. I know who it is. Heather Graham and.
But yeah, so that will be live from Sparkwood and 21 deleted scenes channel. Although we'll be simulcasting it on the other channels too. All the you should not miss it. If you miss it, you're I don't know what you're doing with your Tuesday night. 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Which brings us to Thursday, Netters Network.
Yes.
9 Central, 10 Eastern. Who will we be talking to on Thursday, Netter of Netters Network?
That will be Pop Culture Casino.
I'm sorry. Oh, awesome.
No. Pop Culture Curator. Yeah, but you know what? Maybe we'll pull in.
I wouldn't mind Culture Casino.
I could talk to Culture Casino for you if you want, but no, we're trying to build the smaller channels.
Culture Curator. Okay, cool.
Good night, Sin. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's see. Yes, so that's Thursday. Friday night, we will also be having a very special guest on Last Call. We will be having a fitness instructor, James Hawthorne. James Hawthorne is the co-host of Dr. Marissa Pay on her morning shows. She was a guest of mine about a month and a half ago. And he will be joining us to talk about something that I'm sure a lot of us care about, at least those of us that were thinking about it with their New Year's resolution, getting fit, maybe losing a little weight. And I said, look, I'd love to have you on to talk about that, but you better not tell me I got to give up alcohol. He goes, oh, no. I'm gonna talk about how not to give up the things you love. So I said, okay, good, because I'll give up a lot, but I'm not giving up my martinis. I'm not giving up my Kraken.
Well, I want the skinny on pork rinds.
Pork rinds go well with lagers, I guess. But that'll be Friday on Last Call, 9 Central. 10 Eastern, which brings us to Saturday. Big Al presents Films with Friends. I'm drawing a blank. Let me scroll up because I know he dropped the link. The Villain from 1979. There you go.
Who's the villain?
Well, you'll just have to tune in on Saturday and find out.
I feel like it should be David Warner.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's in this movie. A very, very early role of his.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Is it a barbarian picture?
No. It's a comedy.
Hoping to be a barbarian picture. Okay, but
yeah, no. This is not a Conan thing. This is
Okay. Mystery movie night at the Regal with Sin's Corner, and I already have the prediction for what the mystery movie is going to be. It's going to be Madam Web because they have to sell tickets to it somehow.
No.
What are you gonna do if you walk in there and then it's Madam Web deleted scenes? I'm sorry.
My understanding of those movies is they're always movies that haven't been released yet. They're pre-releases.
Okay.
So
Madam Web director's cut.
what's going to be coming out that
I'm sorry.
that in the next couple weeks that it might be
Craven the Hunter.
Oh,
That's probably not out yet. Okay.
You know, that's what's really sad about all this is these characters they have access to have great stories, especially Craven the Hunter.
Yes. Maybe it'll be good. You never know. Maybe this will be the one Venomverse movie that's good.
But you can't tell the Craven story without Spider-Man. You need that whole, he kills Spider-Man and buries him storyline. If you don't do that,
they mustn't be allowed to use to make like another, like have like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in these movies, because that would have made more sense. Just bring Andrew Garfield back and have him be the Spider-Man in this universe and have him fight Craven and all these.
Yeah, I don't care who in fact, actually, he would probably be perfect for it because, he's an older Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Later in his career, I think, as I remember the big mini series of Craven from like the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. I'm forgetting what the name of that storyline was, but it was this big, what is it, most dangerous game type of thing, and he like kills Spider-Man and buries him, or he thinks he's killed Spider-Man, and he like becomes Spider-Man using his own, Craven abilities or whatever, or tries to or whatever.
Well, that's funny.
And Peter like crawls up out of the grave and goes after him. And yeah, I don't want to ruin that ending because you should really seek out those comics and find them and read them. It was pretty dark for its day. But it's very what?
I just imagined the criminals saying, "I give up," and Craven just busting the head off, and like,
well,
am I supposed to do that as the hero?
It becomes this thing where Peter realizes I very nearly died here, and everybody that I love is in danger. I need to hunt this guy down. And he has no time for taking pictures or, secret identity or any of that bull crap. This was pure focus. And this was...
That sounds like a great Spider-Man story, actually.
Oh, yeah, it was. It really, really was. I was shocked by the ending, too. I was like, holy crap. But they're never going to do that. Oh, yes, Craven's Last Hunt.
Okay,
yes.
That would have been an awesome.
Well, that pretty much gives away. I didn't realize that was the title, so I'm a little surprised that I was surprised by the ending when I read it as a kid.
But Soundtracks of Bergman gave it to him for Christmas. Oh, that was nice of him. Yeah, Bergman sent me a video about a Clint Eastwood figure. Apparently, they're making very fancy Clint Eastwood figures now. They have one with the man with no name.
Like 1/6 scale, like G.I. Joe scale?
No, these are like the Weta style. Like the kind you put together, like yeah. So anyway, that wraps us up, but that'll bring you back to on Sunday. I'm sure Deleted Scenes will have plenty of stuff going on with
know what? On Thursday after Thursday things, you just tune into to Deleted Scenes for his weekend update. No, that's not weekend update. That's Saturday Night Live. Whatever the name.
Karaoke.
No. You get over Deleted Scenes. He'll tell you what he's got coming up through the weekend. So, yeah.
All right. Cool. And then we will be back on Sunday. And always check out the official pre-show of Geeky Geezers, which is on Deleted Scenes channel, which is called Unscripted. And that'll be it. And then, yeah.
Samuel is saying, again, fuzzy memories. It goes so far back. This was right after he and MJ got married.
Oh.
And I don't remember. Something happened to MJ during it. It's not like she got killed or anything, but it was like,
This is his wife now.
And he's like, oh, no, it's on. And yeah, it was a great story. I did not. Yeah, if you only had the second issue, you seek out that whole thing. I'm sure it's out in trade paperback.
This sounds like something they really should have adapted into something, because I like the idea that we never get to see Spider-Man basically unleash. do
Yeah,
we?
yeah, it's
He's
really good.
always in control. He has
Some
to
of
be
the
careful
best
not to hurt anyone, and I'm curious
because
as to
you
how.
forget
Yeah,
you don't even realize as a Spider-Man reader how powerful he is,
because he
right?
constrains himself.
He's got that whole the burden of his responsibility, right?
Yes.
That whole Uncle Ben thing, and he definitely does not want to hurt anybody. Someone gets hurt because of him, the guilt would just crush him, right? But there are some great stories where you know that whole I don't think I can make it. In fact, the cartoons that we were watching, that we were doing those rewatches on, I was telling you,
Mhm.
there's a story where he's trying to lift up, I don't
Yes.
what he was trying to hold up, and I said this is a direct adaptation of one of the best Spider-Man
Yeah.
comics ever, where he literally thinks he's gonna die, and he's like, if I'm going to die anyway, I am going to give this everything. And he lifts this, basically, he's lifting a whole building off of himself,
Yeah.
and whoever it was he was trying to save or whatever.
Gwen Stacy, I think.
It was Gwen Stacy at the time. Well, it was
Yeah.
Gwen Stacy in the cartoon. I don't think it was in
Not
the
in the
comic.
comic. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't really remember, but I'll tell you, those are some great, great stories. Yeah. Yeah. But this is why these movies just don't come close.
Well, I'll
You know?
say this: No Way Home, you should check out at some point. It has its good points. It's the Spider-Man reunion special. Okay, if you ever get around to watching it,
I can't remember if I saw it or if I just saw big
you might have seen pieces
segments
of
of
it.
it.
Yeah,
Is this the
but
one where everyone forgets about him and he?
here's what happens: Mysterio gives before Mysterio died, he sent Spider-Man's identity to J. Jonah Jameson, and then J. Jonah Jameson reveals it to the entire world. Now everybody knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So he wants to get everyone to forget. So he goes to Doctor Strange. Can you make a spell to make everybody in the world forget I'm Spider-Man? He says yes. And then during the spell, he starts saying, "Wait, will MJ forget? Yes, the spell is for everybody. Will my mom, will Aunt May forget? Yes, it spells for everybody. Well, no. Can you readjust it so that doesn't happen? Can you readjust this? Just stop messing with me while I'm trying to do this." And then suddenly it splinters, and then things, and basically
Yeah,
because of that, Spider-Man characters from other universe start getting called forth, and that's how you get
this was
characters from
their
the other
attempt
movies.
to
Yeah,
this was their attempt to adapt the storyline from Civil War,
yeah,
um, which of course led to um what was it to One More Day, where
yeah, yeah,
and instead of it being Doctor Strange, that he makes
yeah. It
a
was
deal with, it's
Mephisto.
Mephisto, and it's like, oh god, it was one of the worst. There have been some pretty bad Spider-Man stories, and that was definitely one that the fans just reacted very strongly to. So yeah, this as far as movies go, that's a much better way to deal with it. But
Yeah, Garfield steals no way. I agree. He was the underrated, which means he could have been a lot better in his own Spider movies if he had had a better director and better writers. So I'll say
I'd
that.
say that about all of these movies. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
but yeah, and as I said, it seems that the MCU is closed off because it seems like Endgame closed off the regular MCU, and it feels like No Way Home kind of closed off the Spider-Man movies. So I don't know where they're going from here. I guess we have the Captain America movie coming out next year. We'll see.
Oh, you mean Captain Falcon? Yeah.
Anyway, but that wraps it up for this week, and we'll catch you all next week for more geeky news, including more Disney getting sued by yet another person, which
I'm
broke
sure,
today.
no doubt. Absolutely.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Good night.